YouTube, don't judge me. I need a haircut bad. Need a haircut bad. What's up, y'all? Hope everybody's doing good. Tap the screen. Ooh, nothing happened, my friend. Say get something. What up, Cisco? What's up, y'all?
Yeah, it was good. So I'm not Christian because, like, first of all, the Father is God, and Jesus is God, and the Holy Spirit is God, right? That's like three gods. And so baptism isn't necessary. So, like, that's why I'm not Christian, bro.
Dang, that's crazy. Aren't you Orthodox?
Yeah, but like I'm Orthodox and I'm atheist, bro.
Oh, okay. W.
Yeah. Nah, bro, for real, though. Christos and Esti, bro.
Alitos and Esti, brother.
Do you go to like a Greek parish?
I do.
Right, bro. I started learning that. It's like I always think this is my first Easter as an Orthodox Christian. So, like, I started learning the Greek in response to the Christos and Esti thing, you know, that type of stuff, bro.
That's cool.
You know?
Yeah, dude.
But yeah, so like, what's this? Like, I actually love your lives about the baptism thing, bro.
Yeah, that's peace. That's her lives. Yeah, she's really good with it.
Really interesting, you know. And it's kind of funny to see like non-denominationals who say that they're Bible only reject the Bible. You know? Yeah. And it's like they all say that we're not Protestant, we're not apostolic, we're all Protestant, we're just Bible followers, right? Mm-hmm. But then they go over and say the exact same thing as every other Protestant.
No, they go away from it. Yeah, but baptism is pretty bulletproof, man. There's really no way around it. No way around it. But I'm gonna let the next guest up, bro. Christos Anesti. All right, man. Take it easy, brother. What's up?
Hello.
Hey, what's up?
What's up, man?
Not much. What's your faith?
I'd say agnostic. So, but atheist, agnostic atheist.
Okay. And what do you got for me? You want to answer the question? Or?
Just pretty much, just my reasoning is just through like empiricism, and then rationalizing through that empiricism.
All right. What do you mean by empiricism? You need like empirical evidence for something to be true?
Not necessarily. More of, well, can we agree? Me and you both have senses. Mm-hmm. So just deriving off of those senses and then coming to conclusions off of those senses.
Why do you necessarily have to derive from those senses in order to derive something to be true like God?
Because that's all we can know anything off of.
That's not true.
Absolutely. Do you think someone who is blind and deaf believes in God?
There's plenty of people that do believe in those things, yeah.
Who are blind and also deaf?
Yeah, I believe it's possible. Absolutely.
And how do you know this? What? I've never heard a case of that.
Okay. Well, let me ask you this: do you believe the number 2 exists?
As an abstract object, sure.
Okay. Do you touch it? Do you feel it? Do you smell it? Is there any empirical
No, that's
evidence?
why it's an abstract object.
Okay.
It's an idea.
So you don't need empirical evidence to decide whether something's true.
Does this apply to God?
I'm actually just challenging your method of deciding whether something's true or not. You said you need empirical evidence to decide it. Now you just admitted that numbers do exist and they're abstract.
Sure, yeah, they're abstract, but we can also measure them in reality.
Yeah, but you don't need reality to measure them either.
I don't think that's necessarily true.
It is true. You can do
reality. You don't need a foundation to tell if abstract things.
When I'm saying reality, you don't need a physical object.
Well, how else would you represent 2 without something?
Well, I mean, you can represent 2 with a lot of things, but just the quantity.
Correct. You need something to represent 2, correct?
Not necessarily, no.
How can you represent 2 with nothing?
Because 2 is a quantity that exists.
Right, quantity of things, correct?
Yes, but it doesn't need to. You don't need a thing in order to understand it.
Sure.
I don't need a
concept of 2.
I don't need a physical object to do 2 + 2.
For sure, but can we both agree that something like that is how we can tell 2 is even,
you can have quantities. You can have quantities without a thing.
Absolutely, but
for example, the number 0 is a quantity, but it actually measures the absence of a thing.
Correct.
But it's still a quantity. So to your point, it doesn't apply to a thing. And it's still a quantity. So it's not tied. By definition, 0 is a quantity, and by definition, 0 is not attached to a thing. Therefore, quantities exist.
It's a quantity that defines nothing. Can we
therefore, quantities exist without things.
But 0 is a quantity that explains nothing. Can we agree on that?
Yes, but it's not tied to a thing. By definition, it's a measurement of nothing. I agree with you, yeah.
Okay,
and it's still a quantity. So you don't need things to have a quantity.
Right. If you have a quantity of nothing, you have nothing. I agree with you, yeah.
Okay, bro. So then once again, quantities are something that are abstract. You don't need things to have a quantity, and it's not empirical. So
what does this have to do with God? I'm confused.
Well, I wasn't even getting there. I was just challenging how you even derive to the truth. That's where you're flawed. You applied a standard that's not even reasonable.
Well, when I said I rely on empiricism, and then through empiricism I can make rational,
I'm not saying you can. I'm not saying you can't make rational claims with empiricism. What I'm saying is you're saying I don't believe in God because of empiricism, and I'm saying that's silly, because empiricism.
And then I expanded on that with rational thinking after observing things through empiricism.
Okay, so do you agree that empiricism is not the only method to decide whether something is true or not?
And what? Can you give me an example?
Like quantities. We just did it, bro. Like I literally challenged it with quantities, and you conceded.
Yeah, because after you rationalize something through empiricism, like I once again, you take a blind person, someone who is blind and deaf. I don't think they're really gonna understand these concepts, no?
Okay. So what?
So if
are you blind and deaf?
Hold on. You're making a positive claim. Christianity is logical, correct?
Dude, yes. But you said you were answering the question why you're not Christian. You said it's because of empiricism.
And then following empiricism, you can make rational deductions. Yes.
And that's fine. You can make rational deductions with empiricism, but I'm challenging you why you only used empiricism to decide whether God is real or not. And you're saying that empiricism has to be the way to do it, and I'm challenging that, and I used quantities to show you that things
Correct.
can
So
that empiricism would fail as far as proving numbers, but numbers still exist.
How would you understand? How can you conceive or even a better question would be, how did you or how are you able to interpret the number 2, or how were you taught to learn the number 2?
Yeah, you apply it to physical objects. Is how you learn it.
Correct. So you saw this, correct? You see 2 apples, and then you're taught these are 2 apples.
Okay.
And then it's always true consistently, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Right. So wouldn't that mean that we would need to
observe mean
things with our senses to come to conclusions like abstract objects?
That's fine, bro. I'm not saying you can't, brother. I'm not saying you can't use empiricism. What I'm saying is that concepts like quantities, right?
Mm-hmm.
And doesn't need a thing in order for those quantities to exist. And you said how, because numbers are always applied to a thing. Well, the number 0 is not applied to anything by definition, and it's still considered a quantity. So these concepts exist not in physical objects. Where do they exist?
Through logic.
Okay. And where does logic exist?
Where does logic exist?
Mm-hmm.
In the mind.
Okay, good. And before human minds, were there quantities?
Correct.
Where did those concepts exist before human minds?
They were always there before human minds.
Sure. Where
humans weren't? What I don't understand the question.
Before humans existed, where did the concepts like quantities and logic, where did those exist if there were no human minds for it to exist?
I'm so lost on. You're gonna have to rephrase that once more. I don't understand it. As I know it, humans live in the universe, and you're asking me before we were in the universe, where were things in the universe?
Concepts exist in a mind. You already said that. I agree with you. Concepts like logic and quantities and numbers, they exist in a mind, right?
Correct.
Okay. We know that the laws of logic and quantities, those concepts existed even before a human mind. So, before human minds, if there were no human minds for these concepts to exist in, where did they exist before humans?
Are you saying that concepts like logic are independent of human minds?
I'm just asking you, where did it exist? That's all I'm asking.
It existed. That question makes no sense, sir. Do you understand that? That doesn't make sense.
How does it not make sense?
Because you're asking me if something. Wait, what? It doesn't make sense through and through. As I've told you, as I understand the universe, as I understand the universe, humans are here, and we can interpret logic. And you're asking me, where was logic before humans can interpret it?
No.
That is what you're asking me.
Well, yeah, actually it is. Because did logic exist before human mind?
I think the human mind interprets logic.
That's fine. I'm not debating that. But that still doesn't mean that humans created logic. It just means we discovered it.
Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah.
Okay, good. So then logic
is kind of a like just is. Logic is kind of a brute fact.
All right. And these are concepts, right?
So logic is a concept?
Yes.
Sure.
Okay. And where do the laws of logic right now, currently, where do those concepts exist?
Where does logic exist?
Mm-hmm. Those concepts, where do they exist?
In what way? I don't understand the question.
In any way, bro. Do you think logic exists?
I do think logic exists.
All right. You already gave the answer before. It was the right answer. Concepts exist in a mind, right?
Well, I'd like to backtrack a little bit, and
Of course you do. Of course you do. I'm gonna let you backtrack. Of course you want to backtrack because there's repercussions to
now you're
this.
kind of opening with like
No worries. No worries.
What I actually mean is the mind interprets logic.
Okay, good. So then where does logic exist then?
In what way? You keep asking the same question.
Do you think logic is concrete?
No.
It is concrete.
Logic is concrete?
Yes, it is. Can you make a squared circle?
That's contradictory.
Exactly.
That's not logical.
Exactly. So if you are trying to do something that goes against the principle of logic, it's not possible. It won't. That principle is not going to let you, right? Like it's impossible to make a squared circle. So that means it's concrete and that's universal no matter what, right? With or without humans. Would you agree?
Sure.
Okay. So then that means these things exist. They're not conceptual. They're not something you make up. They exist if it's something that can be proven with our reality over and over again.
Sure.
Okay. So where do they exist?
You keep asking that question, and that question keeps on not making sense. Do you understand that, or
no?
Or what do you want? Like you keep on. You're clearly trying to guide me down.
Well, you answered it right. Concepts exist in the mind.
Correct. No. I backtracked.
Of course you. Okay. Then no worries. If you're gonna backtrack that it exists in the mind, then you need to then back up where it would exist other than the mind.
In the universe.
Where?
The universe.
Okay.
Wait, did you just ask me where in the universe is logic in the universe?
Yes, bro. That's like me saying, hey, that's like you asking me, hold on. That's like you asking me, hey, where's the Great Wall of China? And I say the universe. Where in the universe?
In China, probably.
Exactly, right? So even though I wasn't wrong to say the universe, there's a specific location, right? So where does logic exist? There's no
specific location for abstract objects.
Okay, good. You reject it, but I was using the analogy as far as the Great Wall of China, doofus. Now think about the concepts. How do concepts exist? Let's start there. How do they exist?
How do concepts exist? When humans interpret those concepts through logic.
Okay, so you're saying humans create logic?
No, humans interpret logic.
Okay, so logic is a real thing that exists, correct?
Yes, it is. It is an abstract object.
Okay, and how does it exist?
What is your goal with this line of questions? We go in circles. You keep asking the same question.
It's because you don't have an answer. That's why we're going in circles.
I keep on because your question doesn't make sense. You're not going to get an answer for a question that doesn't.
No, the problem is that you were answering it honestly from the beginning, and then once you saw that the honest answer that these concepts exist in the mind, and you can explain where these concepts existed before human minds, you knew where the repercussions of that is. You would have to admit. What are the repercussions? You would actually have to admit that these concepts existed in some form of a mind before there were human minds, and the only mind
why would I ever make that? Why would anyone ever make that conclusion? What?
Because what other explanation would there be?
Logic has always been. Maybe that's.
Okay, how? How has it always been? Without a mind, how has it been?
Because it is. Logic is a brute fact.
That's not an answer, bro. You're just saying because it is.
No, that is an answer. Logic is.
Okay, is what?
Logic is. It's a brute fact. Logic is.
Does it exist without a human mind?
Yes.
Okay, how?
Because human minds interpret logic.
I said before a human mind. How does it exist?
It just is.
That's not an answer, bro. You just don't know. You don't know what you're saying.
Wait, so are you telling me trees were never growing before humans?
I'm not saying that.
Only trees started growing
before humans? I don't make the absurd claims that logic didn't exist before humans or anything.
Okay, so then what? Excuse me. So what's the point of your question then?
The point of the question is that you're stuck. You don't have an answer. I'm glad you're manifesting the way you are.
No. Where am I stuck? Please lie to me. Where am I stuck?
Well, you can't answer how logic existed before human minds.
It just is. I don't understand.
All right, bro. Take it easy, man.
Hold on.
Take it easy, bro. You're stuck. Yeah. How many times do we need to keep him here stuttering? Anyways, tap the screen, yo. Funny thing is, like, it was cool and everything, but the minute, and this is how it happens with most atheists. It's like, man, I'm telling you, you can tell what people believe on how they talk and everything. Like, it always starts off very, very polite, very like, hey, yeah, no problem, yeah, cool, all right, what do you think? The minute you start to go down even a little path that might challenge their beliefs, they start to get a little flustered. They start to get a little crazy. This is insane, man. What's up?
Not much. You can just start off with asking me what you asked the last guy.
Oh, you wanna respond, like where logic existed or something?
Yeah. Ask the question.
Just answer it, bro. Go ahead.
All right. Where did logic exist before human minds? Animal minds.
You think animals understand the laws of logic?
Not the laws of logic, but they still abide by logic.
Okay, so you're saying that an animal has enough rational thinking to understand these concepts?
An otter knows that it can use a rock to open a shell.
No, it doesn't.
Yes, it does. That's why it does.
That's just called instincts, bro. It's not rational thinking.
That's you assuming that one.
No, logic requires rational thinking. What you're doing is trying to apply rational thinking to an animal, but an animal is instinctual. They don't understand why they do what they do. They just understand. They just understand. Yeah, I'm not saying humans don't have instincts, but we do have rational thinking on top of it. That's what makes us. That's what separates us. That's actually, hold on, bro. That's actually what separates us from animals. Is the fact that we have not only instincts, but we have rational thinking. So what you're trying to apply to an animal is just based off.
What your question was.
What do you mean? That's not what my question was. It wouldn't apply. You need to. These concepts can only be used with a rational thinking, bro. Oh my god, dude, you understand that an otter cannot do 1 + 1. You understand that, right?
It doesn't need to.
Yes, it does. That would be the.
You just said an otter needs to know 1 + 1.
No, I said an otter cannot do math.
An otter doesn't need to do math.
Okay, I know it doesn't need to, but in order to prove your point that these concepts exist in their mind, you would need to demonstrate that they can do those things.
All right, an ape can do math.
Okay, bro. See you later, man.
Wait, you're not aware of this?
Bye. See you later. So stupid. An animal can do math. An animal can understand the laws of logic, the law of non-contradiction. Right. Okay. Yeah, thanks. It starts to become just like you're just trolling at this point. What's up?
What's up? How are you, brother?
I'm doing good. What's your faith?
I have questions. When I was reading the Bible, started with that Jesus is the seed of Abraham. Did you read this?
Yeah. What faith are you?
Well, it doesn't matter.
It does because I'm the host. You're my guest, and I asked you. And if you're going to show some respect, you would answer.
I am Muslim.
Okay, thank you.
So it says Jesus is the seed of Abraham. Is that right?
The seed of a what?
Abraham.
Abraham, yes.
Okay. When they give the genealogy, they said that Abraham gave birth. It was the father of Isaac. Isaac is the father of Jacob, all the way until Joseph. What is the blood relation between Joseph and Jesus?
It's not. There's no blood relation.
So why is he the seed of Abraham? Why did
Mary.
they give us all this genealogy? What is the use?
Through Mary.
Huh? Yeah. So what? There is no blood relation. He is not the seed of Abraham.
Mary.
Joseph did not give birth to you. There is no relation between Joseph and Abraham. There is no blood relation between Joseph and Jesus.
Okay.
Jesus
Is there a brother? I don't know if you're just not hearing me. Mary
doesn't make you a seed.
What
Mary doesn't make you a seed of somebody.
Yes, it does. What are you talking about?
Okay, that's fine. Okay, that's your belief.
Brother, listen. Here. Okay, you said. Hold on. I'm gonna prove it to you. I'm gonna prove it. I'm gonna prove it to you. I'm gonna prove it to you, brother. Hold on, bro. I'm gonna prove it to you. Okay. You said the seed of Abraham, which is when he's talking about his seed will be the one that blessed the nations. That's the Messiah, right? The one that will crush the head of the snake, according to prophecy. Agreed?
I don't. You see, all these prophecies are made up.
But then why are you even looking at it then? Why are you even looking at it? Why are you? And here's the funny thing is you're saying it's made up, but your Quran confirms it. So I don't even know what the hell you're talking about.
The Quran never said that any of the people before Jesus worshipped somebody.
It does by confirming the Torah. It does by confirming the Torah, and it confirms the Torah.
Well, that's fine. Okay.
That's fine. Okay, good. So you can see.
The second thing. Do you believe that after when Jesus died, earthquake happens? Do you believe that? When Jesus died on the cross, there was a big earthquake. Do you believe that everything went dark?
Yes.
Do you believe that people resurrected, the dead people came out of the and they walked on the streets? Do you believe that?
I do.
Okay, that's fine. That's good for you. How about the word Bible? Do you find the word Bible in the gospel? There is a word Bible?
No, but I don't find the word Tawheed in the Quran either.
Okay, there is nothing. Islam, we're not talking about Islam. We can talk about Islam. If
I'm just. Hey, you're spewing facts about my book. I'm just gonna throw little facts about yours too.
That's fine. I can talk.
Good, and I could too. Good. Yeah, we'll go back and forth. Yeah. Go ahead.
We can talk. If you want to talk about Islam, I can talk about Islam. But I have some questions about. First, what is the language of Jesus?
You tell me.
No, you are a Christian. You know what's the language of Jesus?
Isn't Jesus a prophet of yours?
What is the language of Jesus? Answer the question.
Is he your prophet?
What is the language of Jesus?
Is he a prophet?
What's his language? Was he
How about you
English?
tell me? How about you show me in the Quran what language he spoke?
That's not an issue. I'm talking.
It's not an issue. Okay, then show it to me. I don't know his language. I don't know his language. Show me in the Quran. How about you show me in the Quran?
When we are talking about the Quran in Arabic and exists in Arabic.
No, I know it's in Arabic, but show me what language he spoke.
Do we have any?
Do you have any? Do you have anything of what language?
From Jesus.
Do you have any book from Jesus? Do you have any book from Jesus?
The same book. When was the first book was written?
What book?
What is the oldest gospel out of the 4 books? What is the oldest gospel?
Hey, calm down, bro. It sounds like you're breathing heavy.
Mark is the oldest gospel, and he said we written things as it was told to us by other people.
Okay.
Who was telling the story about the resurrection? My friend, you wake up. Jesus is not your God. Jesus is not.
He is my God. He is my Lord and Savior, the Creator of all, and He is your Lord and Savior too. Well, He might not be your Savior, but He's your Lord.
Don't go and force people to believe that. If you want to believe,
bro, and don't go force people to believe Islam. Okay. Islam is evil.
No, I'm not forcing anybody.
Okay, then why are you here?
If you want to talk about Islam, let's talk about Islam now. Let's talk about Islam.
Let's talk about it.
The Quran says no compulsion in religion. La ikraha fi din. You don't force any people into religion.
Okay, why do I care?
And the Quran says.
Why do I care what the Quran says? Why do I care what the Quran says?
Whoever wanna
Hey,
believe, let him believe.
hey, hello,
Whoever
hello,
wanna disbelieve,
hello,
let him disbelieve.
hello. Why do I care what the Quran says?
You said you want to talk about Islam.
Yeah,
You
why do
wanna
I
talk
care?
about
Why do I care what
Christianity.
why do I care about what the Quran says? Why should I take it as true?
You want to talk about Christianity? Let's talk about Christianity.
Oh my gosh. So now you're
Don't
running from the
forget about
Quran.
Islam.
Now you're running from the Quran when I ask you how do I know it's true?
No, forget about. If you want to talk about Islam, we're going to talk about the Quran.
Okay,
If you
so
wanna talk about
let's talk about the
Christianity,
Quran.
we talk about
Let's
the
talk
Bible.
let's talk about the Quran. Why is it true?
Because do you have any other book that was kept intact in the world other than the Quran?
Yes, Harry Potter.
Harry Potter. Okay, that's good. Believe in Harry Potter then. Harry Potter was revealed to you by God, right?
Hamlet, Romeo and Juliet, Great
Yeah.
Expectations, Moby
Okay,
Dick.
that's fine. Quran is a book kept intact. No one can ever change one word out of it.
Okay,
And
who
it
cares?
is
Why does that mean
a
it's
book.
true?
Have you ever read the Quran?
Yes.
Okay, that's good. That's good for you. It's good for you, brother. If you want to worship a man like you, go ahead and worship him.
Okay,
Go
thank
ahead
you.
and worship him, but don't force people to worship falsehood.
I don't believe it's falsehood. You stop telling people. How about this? You stop telling people. How about you stop telling people that the Quran is true and you can't even prove it? Okay? How about you do that? Is that good? If you can't prove the Quran is from God, don't start telling people it's from God. How about that? So once you figure out how to prove it's from God, then start telling people and then prove it to people. But if you can't prove it yourself, then just be quiet. Don't say nothing. Because just because it's preserved.
To me or you closed the mic?
I closed your mic.
Okay, sorry for that. You closed the mic, but it's okay. My friend, the message, when God gives a message, is not forcing you to believe. If he wants to have you believe, he can make the whole world right now bow to him, but that's not the issue.
Okay.
It's you who discover by yourself. You read the message and you want to believe it, believe it. If you don't want to believe it, you don't believe it. But
it's not about wanting or not wanting to believe it. There's no evidence for it to be true.
For me, I read it. It touches my heart. I believe in it.
Oh, so you
I'm
just
not
believe.
worshiping
So you
a
just
man.
believe.
I'm worshiping.
So you just
the
believe
God
whatever
of
you
all
feel.
of everything.
So your belief is just based on your feelings then.
No, it's not a feeling.
You just said it. It said it touched your heart. What does that mean? What does it mean that it touched your heart? What does it mean?
My friend, let me tell you something. The Quran. If you are a person who is searching the truth, you will find the truth. If you are a person who is already a certain ideas, it will never help you. But the other important thing, the issue is, who are you as a person? Are you a good person? Are you a good person?
I don't know.
It's not the belief. The belief, my friend, it could be an intellectual challenge for you to recognize what is the truth and what's
right.
not.
Yeah. Maybe. Yeah. You're right. Maybe I'm the one with the deficiency.
But the issue is, are you a man of conscience? Do you cheat? Do you unalive people? Do you torture people? If you are this person, and if you're claiming that you are a believer, what did we benefit out of your belief? Let's just divide people into two categories, my friend.
All right. Well, then if I just need to be a good person and not do those things, why do you care if I'm Christian or not?
Well, I don't care.
Okay, then why are you here? Then why are you here? Then why are you here?
All I care is for you to be a man of conscience.
Okay.
That when I am with you, you are not going to harm me. You are not.
Oh, dang! What happened? Holy crap! Man, that's crazy. Who dropped you? What's up?
Hello.
What's up? What faith are you?
I am an Eastern Orthodox Christian, and I want to come up just to help and present a little argument against the Quran.
Okay, brother. Well, you can do that. You can go hit him up on the DM and bring that argument. But thanks for coming, brother. Christos Anesti. Oh, man. What's up? What up, YouTube? Hello. What's her name? Mommy San 81. You're live. Going once. Going twice.
Hello?
Hey, what's up?
Yeah, why are you not Christian? I'm not Christian because the formulation of a necessary being doesn't make sense within the Christian doctrine.
That the what? I'm sorry?
The formulation of a necessary being.
Formulate? I don't know what you mean by that.
I'm speaking philosophy.
Okay. That's supposed to make me be like, oh, yeah, I understand what you said now.
Oh, okay. So basically what I was trying to say in simpler words is that the Trinity is illogical.
Okay. Well, you could. Let's keep it simple. Okay. I like that. All right. Why is it illogical?
Because you have three subjects subsisting within one essence, and those three subjects have divine properties. So you have three gods.
How many natures do we claim there is?
You have one nature.
How many essences do we claim?
You have one essence.
Okay. So then how can it be multiple if we're saying that God would be in reference to the nature or essence?
Beautiful, beautiful. Do you have three subjects?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Do those subjects share divine properties?
Yes. The same exact ones, yes.
Beautiful. Okay, so they're the same exact ones, then where's the distinction?
The distinction would be in their hypostasis. The divine properties would be in reference to their essence.
Beautiful, which is a real distinction, right?
Yes.
Okay, so there's a distinction. The fact that there's a distinction and they have attributes attributed to them and they are subjects and what's it called? They have that divine property, then you have three gods.
How?
Because, as I said, the persons exist and they have properties attributed to them, and one person is not the other person. So now you have three persons.
Okay.
And these three persons all share that divine essence.
Okay. I'm still not following how the essence all of a sudden got multiplied.
Okay. No, it's not about the essence being multiplied.
Okay.
It's that the subjects are distinct from each other. So person A is not person B and person B is not person A, and you get what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
So if they're distinct from each other, one is not the other, and they share that property of divinity,
mm-hmm.
then you have three gods. Because at the end of the day,
bro, all you're doing is re-explaining your claim. I'm trying to see how that is. Okay, you're saying because there's a distinction between the hypostasis, there's three gods now. How does that happen?
Because, as I said, so if you have three subjects,
mm-hmm.
okay, so you have three subjects. These subjects are not each other.
Right. We're talking about the persons. Let's just keep it simple here, and let's just say persons. Yes. There are three distinct persons.
Yes, they're three distinct persons.
All right.
Now, each person is not the other person.
Right.
Okay. If they're not each other,
mm-hmm.
and each of them have that property of divinity,
mm-hmm.
you have three gods.
Okay, you just repeated again. How? You need to substantiate how that's the case.
I don't know how else to explain it to you.
Okay, bro. Well, bro. Okay. So I would then respond. So then, how about I just do this? Okay. We don't believe that's three gods because the same essence that they share, that the three persons share, is the same identical essence. It's the same being.
It doesn't matter.
There you go. Okay, so you're saying I'm just giving you my response so I can pull so I can actually pull in. So hold on. Listen real quick, okay? So you understand what I'm doing. All I'm doing, the only reason why I said what I just said is because I know you don't agree with it. I'm trying to pull an argument out of you. So, okay, you said it doesn't matter. Why?
Okay, because those persons are distinct from each other. They're not the same. If they were one person, then yes, your argument would stand. But you believe in three persons that are not the same, and they all share that property of divinity.
Hold on, you understand that we don't believe. You understand that we don't believe that the hypostasis is identical to the essence, right? They're distinct from each other.
Yeah. Okay. That's what do you mean? What's distinct from the essence?
The hypostasis.
Are you talking about the persons?
Yes.
The persons are distinct from the essence.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, but they still have the essence. So are they not a part of the essence?
It's not a part. They subsist.
Not sensing apart, like, you know.
Yeah. No, they're not separated. They're not separated, but they are distinct.
Okay, beautiful. They are distinct, which is it doesn't change anything because now what you're saying, you have to understand this.
Here's the thing. This is why it so you understand where I'm coming from. Here's why it matters. Because if you're going to count how many gods, then by definition, you're counting how many natures or essences. And if I count it, see, that's where that's why I made the point to say that the persons are distinct from the essence. So if you're counting persons, you're not counting the natures. You're counting just the persons. So what you're doing is you're conflating the number of persons and saying that means those are multiple natures, where we would say, yes, that's multiple gods. That's not what we're saying, because the nature and the persons are distinct from each other. You're counting two different categories.
So if the nature and the essence are distinct from each other, then can you still say that they have the property of divinity?
Yeah, because they still possess it. Yeah, the person still possesses it.
So if they possess it, then that means they have that nature. They have that property of divinity.
Okay. Because they possess the essence. Yes, but once again, the person, the hypostasis is distinct from the nature. Just because the person possesses that nature, all right, doesn't mean that they're now identical, where you can start counting persons and saying I'm counting natures.
No, but you're not understanding. I'm not counting that nature. You're misunderstanding. I'm counting the person for you. Now, I'm gonna try and take this step by step with you. Person A, does he exist?
Person, what are you talking about? Like the Father? Person A?
The Father. Let's say the Father. Yeah.
Yes.
Does he exist?
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful. Is the Father divine? Does he have that property of divinity?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's one thing though. Now, Jesus, does he have that property of divinity?
Mm-hmm. The same one as the Father, yes.
Okay. Is he distinct from the Father?
In hypostasis, yes, but not in essence.
Yes, which is a real distinction. It doesn't matter. It's still a real distinction. They're still distinct. They're not the same thing. I'm
okay with real distinctions. Yes, yeah. The Father and the Son are distinct in their personhood, but their essence, the essence that they both possess, are not distinct. It's identical.
Okay, beautiful. But they both exist, correct?
Yes, bro. Yes.
Okay. So that's two different. Two separate. Two distinct existences.
No, because the essence is what they exist, and it's identical. So it's the same one existence still.
Okay. So now if there's a distinction between A and B, there's still a distinction. Okay. I'll
only in the hypostasis, not in the existence or the essence. No.
Okay, no worries. Person C, does he exist and does he have that property of divinity? So this is the Holy Spirit.
Yes, the same exact essence as the Father and the Son. Yes, the same existence. It's the same existence.
Okay. So if you can see that there are three persons, each one of these persons are distinct from each other. They're not the same. They exist and they what's it called? They share the property of divinity. Then you have person A is divine, person B is divine, and person C is divine.
Okay.
Now you have three gods.
No, bro, you're just forcing it. Once again, the existence, you're forcing it because you're trying to divide, you're trying to conflate. Once again, this is why I made it a point to tell you that there's a distinction between the person and the essence, the hypostasis and the ousia, right? There's here's what you're doing, bro. Here's what you're doing. In order for there to be three existences, there needs to be three essences. And I keep telling you, that's why I keep qualifying it and saying it's the same existence, the same essence between all three. There's not a distinction between the existence of the Father and the existence of the Holy Spirit when it's referenced to the essence. There's not a difference. They're the same, identical. But in hypostasis, as far as their relation, there's a distinction there. And the reason why that can happen is because the hypostasis and the natures or the essences are distinct from each other. Those are two different categories.
Correct. But
Okay, so then there's not three gods. Correct. It's not three gods.
No, there is three gods. There is three gods. Because I'm telling you right now. I don't think you're failing to understand. The persons of the Trinity are not each other. They're distinct. They're different.
In hypostasis, yes.
Yes, in hypostasis.
We're gonna go through this whole thing again. Yes. Okay.
Hypostasis share that essence, correct?
The what?
The hypostasis.
What about it?
Okay. Do they share that essence?
The three hypostases, the three persons? Yes, they share the same identical essence.
So
yes.
if they're distinct with each other, why can't you count two persons that are divine?
Why can't we count two persons that are divine?
Yes, why?
I don't understand the question.
Okay, so they both share the essence, correct? I mean, all three of them share the essence, correct?
Yes.
All three are divine, correct?
Yes.
And they're distinct, correct?
They're distinct in persons, yes.
I'll
not in essence.
That.
Not in essence.
It doesn't matter. That doesn't help you.
It does matter, bro. Yes,
No,
it's not. Those are two different. You keep trying to conflate the categories, bro. That's all you're doing.
I'm not trying to conflate the categories.
You are, bro. You are. It's a force, bro. It's all right. We just went around in circles 2 times. Do you think you could defend the metaphysics of your God at this point?
What, bro? What? How do you even compare? There's no comparison.
I agree. There isn't a comparison. I don't think your God. I don't think your God is logical at all.
Why?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of problems with it.
What's the problems? Tell me.
Okay, so the attributes, the 99 names.
Yeah.
Okay, are they identical to his essence?
What do you mean identical to his essence?
Are they? Does he possess? Do they describe Allah?
Yes.
And is Allah one according to Tawheed?
Yes.
Is there any multiplicity within Allah?
Not within Allah. If you're talking about attributes, then yes, there's multiplicity.
Okay. Are these attributes a percentage of his essence, or are they identical to his essence, like as a whole?
What do you mean a percentage of his essence?
These attributes, are they identical to his essence, or are they just a part of his essence?
No, they're not a part of his essence.
Okay, so then it would have to be identical to his essence, right?
What do you mean by identical? Again, you have to specify.
So these attributes are describing his essence as a whole, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
I agree.
And I'm not trying to put shape to Allah, but I'm just using simple terms as a whole, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's what I mean by identical. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
So, for example, one of Allah's names is the Avenger, right? He takes vengeance.
Okay.
Would you agree?
Okay, I looked at them, yeah.
Okay. And then one of his other names is the most merciful, right? Is that Ar-Rahman, I think?
Correct. Yes.
Okay. So if and this is just law of identity, all right? If his mercy is identical to his essence, but him taking vengeance is also identical to his essence, then that means him being merciful and vengeful are identical too.
No. that's the thing. That's the issue that you as a divine simplest face, not me.
Oh, okay. So he's not divinely simple then.
No, he is within his essence.
Oh, within his essence.
Yeah, but here's the thing.
But you just then are the okay, good. So he's divinely simple within his essence. Now remember, these attributes are identical to his essence. Is him being merciful and vengeful, are those distinct attributes?
Yes, they are.
Okay. So, but they're both identical to his essence.
What do you mean by identical? I don't understand. Are you
they describe they're not a part of his essence, right? You don't think he's made of parts, right? He's not composite.
They're true of his essence.
They're true of his essence. Okay.
Yeah.
So
there's still multiple and distinct.
Okay. So does that mean in his essence there's distinctions?
Yes.
Okay. So you believe there's distinctions.
Not in his essence. Not in his essence.
Well, then what are the attributes then? What are the you just said that they're
So that's the question you should have asked before you made yourself look stupid.
Oh, I'm the one looking. Oh, hold on. Yeah. I'm the one that's looking stupid after you said that these are identical to his essence. There's only simplicity within his essence, right?
Yes.
But then you just said that these attributes are now distinct and they're within his essence.
Because you didn't. I told you to specify what do you mean by identical to his essence.
Brother, the burden is on you to clarify what these things mean.
Now I understand your stupid argument.
Oh, it's okay. Right, it's stupid.
Because it would be an issue, like you obviously would be an issue if I believe that the attributes are things that exist.
Oh, you don't think these attributes exist?
No, we believe they're real.
Okay, so these are real attributes of his essence?
Real attributes that describe his essence.
Mm-hmm. Okay, they
Yeah.
describe his essence. Okay, and are those
Yeah.
attributes distinct from each other?
Yes.
Okay, so then there's distinctions within his essence.
No, not within. You keep saying within. You're acting as
Yes.
if that-
Are the
you're acting
attributes are the attributes really describing
You're
his
so
essence?
Stupid. Did you know what I just said?
Are the attributes really describing his essence?
But what do you mean? Okay, did you ask me what I meant by real? Did you ask me what I meant by exist?
I mean, I think we should already know what real and exist means, bro.
No, here's the thing. Okay, what does exist mean? How do you define existence?
It's in reality. It's true.
No, that's terrible. No, that's terrible.
Okay, good.
How do
Then
use
you
that
tell
as
me,
a
does
definition?
it exist or not? Then why don't you qualify what existence means to you, and then tell me whether it exists or not within Allah.
To me, logically, I'm going to give you a logical definition.
Good, whatever, bro. Just give it.
Okay, existence in a logical sense means something that is causally efficacious. So something that can cause things, like the person of the Trinity. That's why we have three subjects that can cause things.
Oh, look at you running back to the Trinity. Let's stick to Tawheed, bro.
Yeah, and you ran to my religion as well. What the hell? I can use that argument as well.
No. We were going around in circles. Now I wanted to see if you could defend yours. You were open to defending it.
You just go back to your cop out saying, "Oh no, but it's one essence."
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't matter. There's two distinct. There's two three.
Are these attributes? Are these attributes? Okay, bro. Okay. Are these attributes eternal?
Yes.
Okay. So are they separate from his essence?
What do you mean separate?
Are they? Do you know what separate? You don't know what separate means either?
No, define it for me.
Okay, separate. Okay. Let's look up the definition of, guys, look, this is what we got to do with the Muslims. All of a sudden they don't know what things mean. This happened with the last one too. Definition of separate. Is Oxford okay for you?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, good. All right. Forming or viewed as a unit apart or by itself. Is that good?
No, it's not a part.
Okay, it's not a part. So they're not separate. Right?
What do you mean?
The attributes are not separate of his essence.
No, they're not separate from the essence. No.
Okay, good. And are they identical or distinct from the essence?
They're distinct.
Okay. So they're distinct. So they're separate but distinct. So then there are distinctions within his essence, right?
You could say that, yeah.
Okay. So now you went from there's no distinctions from his essence to now there's distinctions within his essence. Okay, good. Okay, so now we're violating. Now we're going away from Tawheed. This is perfect. I mean, I'm okay with this. This is actually more logical. Okay, what's the issue? Actually, there isn't an issue actually logically. If you're going to say that the attributes are distinct from the essence, and then there is distinctions in that way, that's fine. There's no issue for me. The only problem is it actually goes against your belief, because Tawheed would mean there would be absolute simplicity. There would be nothing distinct. If the attributes are not separated from his essence, they cannot be distinct from each other. They would have to be identical. Have to, according to Tawheed. But that's your problem, not mine. Okay. Now, if you're gonna take that route, if you're gonna take a Trinitarian route, right? No worries, bro. We can dive into Trinitarian philosophy if you want. But if that's the route you want to take, no worries. Okay. Let's go with his attributes, and since they're not separate from his essence, right? And you're saying they're not identical, they're distinct somehow, or whatever the case is. Okay. When it comes to his attributes, they are eternal. They always existed, correct?
Yes.
Is Allah potent? Does he change?
What do you mean by change?
Going from one state to another.
No.
Okay. So when it comes to something like the attribute of taking vengeance, was he eternally taking vengeance?
No, but here's the issue. The fact that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has the attribute of, let's say, al-muntaqim, like the vengeance, or I think it's a name, to be honest. It is a name. It doesn't mean that he has to actualize it.
Oh, okay. So that means that the attribute goes from a state of being inactive to then active.
No.
Okay, so it's always active.
Because there's a difference between essential and non-essential properties.
Okay, so was it always active or not?
What do you mean?
Was it active or not? The property, the attribute of being
active,
vengeful.
But it doesn't have to actualize.
Okay, active how? How was it active and not actualized?
By having the capacity to do so.
Okay, having the capacity to do something doesn't mean it's actualized, bro.
Yes, correct.
Okay, so then how was it active and not being actualized? That's a contradiction.
No. So what did you mean by active? I'm not understanding.
Active would mean that it's actively going on. It's actualizing. That's what that means.
No, I don't believe that it's necessary for it to.
Okay, so then it was inactive then.
Yeah, you could say that. Yeah.
Okay, so then. Okay, good. So then his attributes that are not separate from his essence goes from being inactive to active.
Okay, and what's the issue?
You don't see an issue that there's attributes that are not separate from his essence that goes from a state of being inactive to active. It moves.
Yeah, I don't understand what the issue there is.
Brother, you understand? Okay, so here, okay, let me break it down real simple. I thought you would understand this. Okay, you understand that movement is only something that happens, or change. Let's just use change and movement synonymously. That can only happen within creation. If something moves like that within its essence, or even an attribute that is supposed to be eternal, that's not separate from his essence, if it moves, it's no longer eternal.
Correct, but is the attribute of what's it called? The attribute of intiqam, is it like vengeance, as you said? Is it what's it called? Is it an essential property?
It doesn't matter if it's essential right now.
No, it does matter.
It doesn't, because you said the attributes. Here's why: because you said the attributes are not separate from his essence, and you said they're eternal.
Yes.
Okay, they can't be eternal if they change, bro.
Why? I don't understand that. Why?
Because so eternal just means no beginning.
Yes.
Hold on, bro. Hold on. Let me explain. Let me explain why, because I didn't explain this part. Eternal just means no beginning, no end, outside of time. Time is the measurement of change and motion.
Okay.
So if something within Allah's essence or his attributes that are not separate from his essence changes, that means it's not eternal. It's created.
Yeah, I would agree, but that's not.
Then you just said one of his attributes are created, bro.
No,
and it's not separate of his essence.
Not necessarily, no.
Then you need to explain how. How, bro? How does his attribute change, and which only can happen in creation? How does one of his attributes that he possesses that's not separate of his essence? It's going to be the same substance of his essence. How can that be eternal and it changes?
But why are you acting like when you say change, it's as if like the attribute has taken a whole different mental state?
It has to. There's no way. The change doesn't happen in eternity, bro. Like you can't be outside of time and change. That's a contradiction. That's like saying a square circle.
So what's the issue with an attribute that is non-essential changing? I don't understand.
Because the attribute is inseparable from his essence, and it's eternal according to you. It has to be eternal if it's not separate of Allah's essence. So what you're saying is, if this attribute changes, you're saying a squared circle. You're saying indirectly by saying it changes that it's within time, but at the same time saying it's outside of time. You're saying it's in time and outside of time at the same time. Sorry, what?
Didn't I tell you the attributes were distinct from the essence?
But they're not separate of the essence.
Yeah, but they're still distinct.
They would still have to be eternal, despite the distinction. Distinction doesn't have to mean separation.
What?
Yes, bro. If it's not separate of the essence, it has to be eternal. Unless, because it's inseparable. Unless you want to say that there is a part of Allah that's created. You want to say that?
I told you they're distinct.
Okay, I'm with you. They're distinct, but it's not separate of his essence. Is his essence eternal?
Yes.
Okay, and it's still one with his essence, right?
Okay.
Thank you. So that means it has to be eternal, unless you want to say that only the attribute is created and that's a part of Allah's essence.
but here's the thing. What is an attribute?
Oh my God, dude. All right, man. See you later, bro.
What do you mean?
See you later, bro. I'm not gonna keep on around these philosophical. Like, it's just unbelievable. Unbelievable. Definitely like insane. Do, do, do.
Hello.
Hello.
Is my mic echoing?
No, it's not.
Okay. So going back to your topic, why you're not Christian?
Mhm.
I mean, why should I be one?
Well, I believe it's the truth, but I don't know. What faith are you now?
So is it because you believe it's the truth, or is it because something has happened to you to make you believe it's the truth? Which one is it?
No, I think it has very good evidence for it to be true. What faith are you now?
Okay, well, yeah, you can point out the evidence, and then we can see if that.
Well, what faith are you
makes
now?
sense. Sorry?
What faith are you now?
Well, I'm Muslim, but I'm just saying, like, if I was to become Christian, then I might need a strong evidence and proof and some experiences to make you believe that it's the truth. So can you give me one if you have one?
Yeah, after 1400 years since Islam, we've had a lot of evidence historically that Jesus actually died on the cross. There's really no debate on that.
Yeah, so after he died, like, what does that supposed to mean? Because a lot of people die anyways, but go ahead.
Well, according to your Quran, it claims that he didn't die.
Oh, then he didn't. So how does that make you, believe that Christ is God or not?
Okay.
So if I went and killed someone and said he didn't die, does that mean he's God?
So, for example, if I wrote a book, let's say 1,000 years ago, that I claimed was from God, and in this book, it said things like, there is no other continent in the world other than Europe and Africa and the ones that we know. Okay. And then 500-600 years later, we discover North America and South America. Would you still believe that book came from God?
You're still not answering or giving me anything that's got to do with, give me an answer that this is God and this is the proof and that's that. I don't need to go back to what happened.
Okay, so you don't want to answer the question. So you don't want to answer that question? Because if this is from God, it would be historically accurate. Historically, we know that Jesus did die on the cross. Your book claims he didn't, and then it claims to be from God. So why should we believe it's from God?
So you want me to go to church and then start worshiping Jesus? Like, I don't
want you to do. I don't want you to do anything. You asked me a question. I gave you a reason why Christianity is true. Because we know that he did in fact die on the cross, and according to your belief,
that's fine. That's fine. But I'm still asking you. You want me to go to church and worship Christ? If
you can do it. Listen, I don't honestly. I don't give a damn what you do.
Okay. Just because a lot of people can just say, I don't want to go to Islam and worship Allah. That's fine. But why are you pushing the agenda that Christianity is the truth if that's your truth? It doesn't mean that's everyone else's truth, though.
Yeah, truth is not subjective. Something that's objective.
Okay, but not everyone wants to worship. How would I say?
That's fine. If they want to if they want to reject Christ, that's no problem. That's fine. I mean, like, you want to reject him. That's none of my business. That's none of my business. You take that up. Huh?
Would that be fine too?
Let me ask you this. Let me ask you this. Are you okay? Or are you married at all?
I'm talking to you. I'm talking to you perfectly.
No. I wasn't asking like that. I wasn't asking like that. I was gonna ask you a question, but first I switched the question. Are you married or anything at all?
I'm only 21. I don't need to be married at 21.
Do you plan on getting married?
Yeah, I actually will, because I do like men.
So when you plan on getting married, are you okay with your husband striking you at all?
I don't think he would need to do that, because there would be great respect between us two, but go ahead.
Are you okay with him striking you, though?
He wouldn't do that. There's no such thing as, are you okay? Why would he, if you say that, is that okay? That means you're implying that you're going to do it.
I'm just asking, are you okay with your husband striking you at all?
I wouldn't be okay with it, because it wouldn't happen anyway.
For any circumstance, would it be okay?
Yeah, he He wouldn't do it. I promise
Do you
he
think
wouldn't.
it's wrong for a husband to strike their wife?
I mean, everyone's got their own problems that got nothing to do with me.
Do you think it's wrong for if your husband were to strike you for any reason? Would you believe that's wrong?
For any reasons, or is it just for
any
no
reason?
Which one?
For any reason.
If I cheated, then
what if
it is what it is.
Oh, okay. So you're okay with getting hit if you cheated?
I mean, to some points or some extent, I feel like humans just,
What if he felt like you disobeyed him, and for whatever reason, it could be something like you didn't make the bed, and then he struck you for that. Would that be right or wrong?
No one would want to do that. Like, stop. No one would actually do that.
I'm not asking if it's gonna happen. I'm just asking, is it right or wrong to do that?
I think that's wrong, but yeah.
Okay, well then you're going against your God, because your God actually tells the men that if they fear disobedience, they're to warn them for 2 warnings, and then on the 3rd he can strike them.
So I can do 2 wrongs before I get hit. I mean, that's, the first time will be fun. The second time will be like, catch me if you can.
Okay, so you're okay with that?
Like I said, if it's like a toothbrush, it's not gonna hurt me. Just smack me a little bit.
Doesn't say toothbrush.
Don't do it too hard.
Doesn't say toothbrush.
No, I'm reading the comments. That's what the verse is about. I know what the verse is about, but that toothbrush is not gonna really,
Yeah, I know. That's why we know it's not about a toothbrush. There's something that's added on later by scholars in order to make it sound better.
I'm just saying, if I did do something wrong, like as far as cheating, then it's.
That's fine. But what about something small as not? You didn't wash the dishes when he asked you to. How about something like that?
No, he can't hit me because of that, because it will all be washed. But anyways, yeah. I think I'm following Allah, actually. Yeah, I really like that book. I really do.
Yeah, good. Okay, so you're okay with getting struck then?
I'm not okay with it, but it won't happen to me. But I'm just saying.
I'm not asking if it's gonna happen to you. I'm just saying, are you okay? Is this something that you're okay with if it does?
I mean, I don't know. Like, am I?
Well, I mean, if Allah says it, you have to be okay with it, right?
I guess to some extent, yeah.
Okay, cool. That's all I wanted to hear. So, good.
Yeah, but no, I cannot worship Christ, because then that means I want to go against.
That's all I wanted to hear. Thank you.
Hello.
What's up?
Hi. As a secular Christians, if you are, I salute you to keep the lady out of our equation. You know what I mean? You guys are good as long as you stay away from paganism that started by the Roman.
What faith are you, bro?
I'm Jewish, of course.
Okay, why are you not Christian?
The Jews are Christians in a way, no?
Do you accept Christ as the Messiah?
Well, there are 2 different messiahs, no? One is the Roman version, one is the Jewish version, right?
Okay. Do you accept Jesus, Yeshua of Nazareth, as the Christ?
As a savior at the time, as a man who saved, yes. But the rose to become an element for the pagans to blame the Jews, no. There are 2 different versions of it, no?
No, I don't know what you're talking about. Do you follow the Bible, the New Testament?
Yes, but the whole thing about this Roman version of what happened is about
what Roman version are you talking about, bro? What are you talking about?
Well, who unalived Jesus?
The Jews.
That's it. That I proved my point.
Okay, so
your book is not it becomes, if your version becomes radical, then that's what's happening to us, to Jewish people. But as
Guys,
long
tap
as
tap
we-
the screen, so somebody else can request up. Yeah, go
you
ahead, Ryan.
understand what I'm saying?
No, I don't. I don't understand what you're saying.
If we blame the Jews for whatever happened to them by the Romans, it's like October 7 again.
I don't know what this has to do with.
Unalive Jews, and you blame them for being unalive.
Okay, Remy. Do you have a
Cross is a symbol of unaliving Jews.
All right, I can't do it. I can't do it. I don't know what he was saying. I have no idea. No idea what he was saying. That was kind of crazy. That was kind of crazy. Anyways, welcome to the Best Morning Live on TikTok and the Best Morning Live on YouTube. Don't forget to go check out the YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to like the videos. I dropped another one yesterday. I'm going to drop another one today. Don't forget. Do not forget. What's up?
What's going on here?
Nothing.
I'm in the bathroom and I just shit the likeness of Christ. Should I worship it or flush?
Yeah. Yep. And that's what we get. The trolls get mad. The trolls get mad when you do this. You would think that somebody who rejects Christ, why would you care that much to go on lives and troll like that? See you later. Sivs, I do see your message. Why would I do that? Why would I do that? I don't need to do that. I got my own live. If they want to come here, they already tried coming here. It's all good, man. I don't need to go over there. They've already tried cooking me, bro. It ain't work. They hit a wall. I'm a beginner Protestant Catholic. I don't know what a Protestant Catholic is. What Bible do I recommend? I don't know, man. Just get an ESV. I don't know what a Protestant Catholic is, though. Don't know. Don't know what that is. No. Sound like a contradiction to me. Contradiction. What's up?
Yo, my bad. I accidentally joined.
No worries. Keep tapping the screen, y'all. If something is a part, it's created. If something is made of parts, yes, absolutely, it's created. That would entail separation. Yeah, a Protestant Catholic is I don't know, man. If you're not trolling, you need to learn what these terms mean, brother. Because it definitely sounds like you trolling. You feel me? But keep tapping the screen. I got a little bit more time left before I gotta go. So tap the screen for your boy. Rami, you I don't think you're okay, bro. I think you oh, you're a Pentecostal Orthodox Coptic. That's beautiful, brother. That's good news, brother. Best Morning Live on TikTok. Thank you, Christ Topics. Appreciate it. Jesus set us free from sin. That's true. As long as you get baptized. Because baptism is necessary for salvation. It is. There's no way around that. It's probably the most bulletproof argument you can make. Hello.
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 How are you?
Doing good.
Yeah. Do you believe that the universe has a cause for its existence?
Yeah, I believe in God.
Okay. Do you think you can demonstrate that the universe has a cause?
Because it's expanding.
What does the expansion have to do with having a cause?
Because if it's expanding, then that means it would have to have a beginning.
And how is that relevant to having a cause?
Because if there's a beginning, then there's a cause.
And how is that relevant to having a cause? What's the relationship?
Can you demonstrate anything that you can point to a beginning that doesn't have a cause?
Well, there is two different types of beginnings. There is a temporal beginning in the universe, like me punching someone, for example, or the timeless beginning, which is the beginning of time. They're different. So if time had a beginning,
what is a timeless? What's a timeless beginning?
A timeless beginning is the beginning of time, meaning that there is a first moment and there is nothing before that.
Okay, and that's what we're questioning right now. You're assuming that because that there's a beginning of time, that there's no cause to it. It just happened, right? I'm asking you, can you demonstrate that with anything else that would be consistent with that?
No, because there is a difference between what we observe is beginnings in time, not the beginnings of time. So you wouldn't be able to provide an example. But if time had a beginning, there's nothing before that.
What's the definition of time?
Time would be a fourth-dimensional. Well, we don't define time alone. We define space-time. So space-time is basically the four-dimensional manifold, 4D.
I don't know who we is. What's the definition of time, bro?
In physics is what I'm saying.
What is time?
Time is a fourth dimension.
Brother, what does time do?
What does time do?
Mm-hmm.
Time is a fabric. It's a physical entity, a 4D, that doesn't allow things to occur at the same time according to different frame of references. That's what time is.
Okay. Time, I would disagree. I would say time is a measurement of motion or change.
That's just a classical notion.
Okay. So do you disagree with it, or do you disagree with that, or no?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Okay. So if time is a measurement of motion or change, then in the beginning of time would have to describe the first change or motion, correct?
Sure. But your definition, you can define it that way if you want, but your definition is inaccurate, is what I'm trying to say.
Why is it inaccurate?
Because it doesn't take into account too many other things. For instance, now we know that time, we can't speak about time without space. Your definition doesn't include space, therefore it's not accurate.
How can you speak of time without space?
No, I'm saying you can't speak with. I'm saying you can't speak about time without space. That's what I'm saying.
Okay. So time is dependent on space.
They're not dependents. They're one thing basically. They're one
How does
entity.
time exist without space?
No, they are one thing.
So time and space are one thing.
That is correct. It's called space-time. It's one entity called space-time. That's
whatever. Okay, good. So when space began, does space have a beginning?
Space started to expand.
Okay.
The beginning of the expansion of space-time doesn't until the beginning of the existence.
Can you have time without the expansion of that space?
It's space-time that was expanded, not only space.
Okay. Time is the measurement of change. So time is the measurement of motion or change. So if that space is not moving or changing, then time wouldn't exist by definition.
So this is why I'm disagreeing with you. I won't use that definition because it's inaccurate.
Okay. According to who? You?
According to physics, according to our understanding of the universe.
Okay.
I can explain to you why.
Well, I'm not really interested in you going down explaining why. To be honest with you, this would be the scholastic definition of change. You, by definition, say space and time are one entity, right? But if time measures it's the measurement of change or motion, then that means that space would need to be changing or moving in order for it to be even classified as time.
Well, they're one thing, so sure.
Okay.
Okay.
So there needs to be motion or change in order for it to be space-time.
What I'm trying to tell you is that the cause and effect, or causality in general, requires time intervals and space intervals. Where you always have the cause is always before the effect, and I'm pretty sure you would agree with that. There's the before the after scenario. Now, I'm going to ask you a question. Did you know that through observation? The notion of causality, did you know that through observation? Yes.
Do I know that, me personally? Sure.
I'm asking you, sure. The second question is it justifiable to generalize an observable inductive law within observation beyond observation?
I don't know what you just said. You mean, are you asking me, is it possible to conclude that without observing it?
No, because you said you knew that through observation. I'm asking you, is it justifiable to generalize an observable law within observation beyond observation?
If we have enough evidence of what we observe, yes, it's justifiable.
Sure, but it's true within observation. Then my question is, how did you generalize that beyond observation?
Because we don't see anything else that when you're measuring cause and effect, we don't see anything else that doesn't have a cause to it that comes to existence or motion.
Okay. So you're saying if we don't have a counterexample of something, then therefore it has to exist beyond observation?
If we don't have a counterexample of it, what?
Yeah. So you're saying we don't have a counterexample, therefore it's justifiable to generalize that beyond observation, right?
I would say if we don't have a counterexample, you would need to then explain to me why I should believe in the counterexample.
Sure, that's fine. So we always observe the universe, and therefore it's not justifiable to tell me that there is something other than the universe, since there is no counterexample of something else other than the universe.
Not really, because like I said, for example, like motion, right? Everything that moves, there's always a cause to it, right? There's a primary mover that starts whatever it is to move, right? But I
don't agree.
You disagree with that?
Yeah, because movement doesn't imply causality. Movements can imply correlations, where events are not causally connected.
Can you show me something that moves that didn't have something to cause it to move?
No, it's logical. So it's hard to prove a negative. What you're asking is to prove a negative.
I'm not asking you to prove it. I'm asking you, can you give me an example that we know of, that we know has began to move without something causing it to move?
What I'm saying, even if that exists in the universe, it would be hard to say, because we can't prove a negative. It's hard to prove a negative, even if
it's hard to prove a negative, but it's not impossible.
It's not impossible, but that's fine. What I'm saying is that it's not justifiable to generalize what you observe.
I think it's more justifiable that if we have more evidence to show that everything that moves is caused by something else moving, and you can't provide something counter that, I think it's more justifiable to believe that everything is caused by something that moves, rather than your belief that it doesn't need to do that.
Right. That's amazing. So let's take your example. You said almost everything you observe moving and has a beginning seems to have a cause.
Almost everything. I would say I don't know of anything that is not caused by something.
Is that motion in space?
Yes.
Amazing. If the universe is expanding, that's not motion in space, that's expansion of space. So there is difference between something in space and something and space itself. So the idea is that how did you possibly generalize what's in space to the space itself?
What? Dude, what? What are you even saying now? You're saying that the motion, it doesn't exist, it's because of the universe expanding? That's what you're saying?
No. I'm saying there's difference between motion in space and motion of space.
Okay.
You're trying to give me examples of things in space to try to apply that to space. So I'm asking you, are they the same? Are they the same thing?
Or it's what the same thing, bro?
Mm-hmm. Is motion in space is the same as motion of space?
Motion is motion. Motion is just going to be a state of change.
A state of change in space.
Okay, so what?
Okay, but the expansion of space is not something that happens in space. It's space itself expanding. So how did you possibly generalize what's in space to space itself?
Because if the space itself is expanding, that means space is going to be measured by time.
I'm not sure how that's relevant to my
Yeah,
question.
what it is, bro. Is you're trying to this is why you want to, and I see why you want to adopt the whole space time thing as one entity, because you just want to conflate them as one thing so that you can try to wiggle your way around the fact that space, if time is the measurement of change, this is why you don't like this definition. If time is the measurement of change and space is changing, that means space is under time, right? It's being measured by time. They're not the same thing. If time is measuring space, then they're not the same thing.
Okay, do you want me to prove to you? Well, in relativity, general and special relativity of Einstein, they're one thing. So do you want me to prove that to you?
No, I just want you to show me
Just to show you that
I just want you to demonstrate to me something that is in motion or changes that was uncaused.
Okay. So
That's all.
if time had a beginning, there was nothing before that, correct? Would you agree?
No.
Oh, so you're saying time had a beginning, but there was still something before time. Then you're assuming time before time. So time didn't have a beginning then.
I wouldn't think it's possible for there to be nothing and then all of a sudden, boom. Something.
There wasn't nothing. There was no before time. When I say there was no before time, that doesn't mean that there was nothing before time. There was no before.
Oh yeah, okay. So if you're going to talk about there's no time before time, then yeah, sure.
Sure. Then there is no. Okay. Then how can you have a cause to time if there's nothing before time?
Because if there's still something like an eternal being, then that would be the explanation of how time started.
An eternal being. Why can't the universe be eternal for?
Because if the universe is eternal, which means no beginning, no end, then it means time doesn't actually exist. That means that if you can take, by the way, you can take this route if you want. I'm gonna tell you why. You can take this route if you want, because if there's no beginning to time, if there's no starting point, then how we measure our reality, which time is a part of that, means it's not actually real, because we're measuring time with a starting point and an end point, right? So if that starting point is not there's no actual starting point, then that means everything we perceive in reality is actually chaotic and absurd. Therefore, we cannot derive to any conclusion of anything.
Right, but there is difference. But there is difference between a moment and a period and time.
Sure, you can say that that would just be conceptual at that point. It wouldn't be real.
No. Well, okay, hold on. So just because you're measuring a beginning point of a certain period of a moment or something doesn't mean that time should also have a beginning. They're two different things.
Bro, that would be the definition of time, bro. Like you said, how can it be eternal? Like eternal means no beginning, no end. So if time doesn't have a beginning, right? If it's eternal, okay, then that means there's no starting point. Meaning that our concept of time is not real. It's just a conceptual thing.
No, I'm saying time, space-time is a fabric of the universe.
Oh my God, dude. We already talked about the whole space-time thing, bro. We're talking about the measurement of change and motion.
Sure, then we disagree on the definition. Because
and that's what I'm saying. Like you have to adopt that definition of time in order to make your worldview make sense, which is fine, bro. If you want to cope with it, that's cool. But at the end of the day, it is not possible with time to have no beginning. I mean, it's possible for you to adopt that worldview if you choose. Somebody can choose that worldview and say, this is my explanation of the universe. That's fine. I would say that leads to absurdity because then time is just a conceptual thing. It's not a real thing. Therefore, you can't even figure out anything that's true. I would say you need to just go look in the mirror and ask yourself if you exist.
All right, I would disagree with you then, because in my view, time is.
Do you exist?
Objective. Yes.
How do you know?
Because if I doubt my existence, that would pre-assume my existence.
When did you start to exist?
According to our understanding of the universe, when I was born.
Is that how do you know that was actually a start of your existence?
Well, when you say the start of my existence, do you mean the matter that makes me energy?
I'm just talking about anything. Like, why do you exist, bro? Like, how can you know? How can you know? How can you know that that's actually a true thing that happened?
Like that I was born?
Mm-hmm.
Because I can deduce that inductively.
Oh, based on what?
I observe similar species, just such as me. I observed my photos when I was a kid. Blah blah blah. All these accumulative evidence is considered sufficient evidence that I was born as well, just like all other species.
So if your senses, when we look at time, it would be start and beginning. According to you, that's not true. It would be an infinite amount of no starting point of anything. So that means your senses could be wrong. Is it possible that whatever you're observing is just an illusion, and you're really just a brain in a vat, and the scientist is just playing with you?
So if we take your definition of time, which is, let's just say change, right? If change is eternal, never started to exist, no starting point to change is still real. Change still happens. It just never started.
How do you know it's real?
We can observe time.
But your senses could be fooling you right now. You could be a brain in a vat. That a scientist is making you think that you're sensing these things as reality, but he's actually just playing an experiment on you right now.
Yeah, well. So that's another topic, but we can discuss that as well. So if you say my senses are fooling me, then
I would say if you're going to eliminate time altogether as being something real, then you can't trust your senses at all. So how do you know that you exist?
Time is not real. I'm saying time is real.
No, I know you're saying it's real, but that's not whatever you think it is. It's not actually how we observe things, because you said based on our senses, time has a beginning and an end. Right? There's a starting point, and then there's another point, and then there's points in between those points. Right? Moments of time. Whatever. That's how we measure. That's how we look at time. We cannot fathom no beginning. Right? Like that's not something that's within our senses and how we. So that means our senses are actually not conceptualized. We're not actually perceiving things in reality, because according to what you're saying is real, is there's no starting point. So you can't trust your senses. So without your senses, how do you know you exist?
No, I'm not saying there is no starting point. I'm saying there is no problem if the universe has no starting point.
Right. Okay. Let's just assume there's no starting point. That means that our senses are fooling us, because as far as what we can tell, time has a starting point. So if your senses are not giving you the reality of time of what you're adopting, then that means how do you know you exist? Right. You can't use your senses.
Are you saying according to our senses, time had a beginning?
Yes, according to what we can observe. Yes.
Can you give me evidence that time had a beginning?
We've already gone through the cause and effect and everything. Can you show me? Can you show me how time doesn't have that?
Yeah, well, I'm explaining to you that was what I said. What if time had a beginning and there was nothing before that? But I never said we proved that time had a beginning.
Okay, so if the way we experience time is through moments, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, and then in moments there's a starting point, correct?
Of the moment,
okay, yes. So as far as what we can observe of time, there's a starting point. You're saying that's not true in the overall definition of time. Okay, good. But you're not basing that on anything that you can observe.
You're not, a possibility. That's what I'm saying.
You can say it's a possibility all day. Let's go with the possibility. Let's say it's true. That means based on what you can observe on your senses, that means it's not actually giving you the reality of what you're trying to play as the possibility here. If that's the case, then your senses are not sufficient for you to define reality. Meaning, and this is why I went to this question, how can you prove to me that you exist?
Oh, you think if time didn't have a beginning, it goes according to what we observe. Because you think.
I'm just want to know how you know you exist, bro.
Mm-hmm. Well, I don't think you can reach that question because I think there's a flaw in your premise.
I just want to know how you know you exist.
I just went through that. I told you.
And everything you used, I'm dismissing all of it because you used your senses. Your senses can't be trusted now. So how do you know you exist?
I'm not saying it can be trusted. I'm saying there's nothing we observed that shows that time had a beginning. You're just
that's fine. That's fine. I just want to know how you exist. Stop going back to the time. I just want to know how you exist.
I said if I doubt my existence, that would presume that I exist, and therefore, by definition, I just should exist. It's literally an axiomatic. It's an axiom that I start from because I'm forced to start from it. I wouldn't reason if I didn't exist.
Yeah. How do you know that? How do you know that you even thinking about you doubting to exist is even a real thing?
Because I can experience it.
Yeah, that's based on your senses. Once again, that can't be trusted. So how do you know?
How do you know that my senses can't be trusted?
Brother, you're proving my point. You're proving my point, bro. You're proving my point, man.
I'm saying, when you say
this guy. Sometimes you could be just so smart you don't even say. You're proving my point. Like, yes, I do agree you can experience things and perceive things as reality. Based on how we look at time, and you admitted this, The only way we can see time is through moments. And as far as what we can observe, time has a beginning. Period. Oh my gosh, dude. Hello, my queen. What's up?
Hi.
Hello.
Have you ever read the Bible?
Yeah. Have you?
Yes, twice.
Do you like it?
I don't find it logical.
Why?
You have a God who gets into a fight against a prophet or a saint man.
Okay.
And he said to Isaiah, he said to him, "Let me go."
It was Jacob. It was Jacob.
Soon it will be done.
It was Jacob, not Isaiah.
Is he Dracula or what?
Dracula? What are you talking about, bro?
Dracula, yeah, because he has to go before it's dawn.
Oh, okay.
Is that logical for you?
Yeah, it is. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, explain yourself.
What's illogical about it? You have to. I mean, I think it's coherent. What's wrong with it?
I'm telling you, there is a God who's fighting against Isaiah.
Okay.
And he told him that he has to let him go before it's dawn.
Before it's what?
Before it's dawn.
Before it's dawn.
Dawn. Yeah, the time, dawn.
Okay, so?
It is illogical for you.
What's illogical about it, bro?
Nothing. Actually,
Then it's logical then. What's your problem?
It's not logical, Ted. I'm telling you.
Okay, why? Why is it not logical? You just said it's not illogical. Now you're saying it's illogical. Which one is it, bro?
That a God is fighting against a man, and it was like he was not winning actually.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, he was not winning.
Why do you think that?
He told Isaiah, "Let me go." So if he didn't, so he wouldn't go.
Yeah.
So
what happened? What happened after that?
Who can overcome a God?
What happened after that? Did you keep reading?
Yeah, he blessed him. Yeah, his name was Israel.
What happened after that?
Against God.
What happened after that?
I don't know.
Yeah, you didn't keep reading. Here's what happened. God just touched his hip and popped it out of place. And then he walked with a limp for the rest of his life. All he did was just touch him. So if he was powerful enough to just touch him and pop him out of place for good, then he was strong enough to defeat him if he wanted to. He just let it happen.
Okay, so he let it happen. So why he told him, "Please let me go. It's dawn."
Yeah,
if
because he was just testing Jacob. He was testing Jacob's faith. Jacob just, or at least his desire to be blessed.
Okay. Everything not logical, we say it's a test. Okay, thank you for your
What's illogical about that? About what I just said? And it's funny, you conveniently left out the information that he just touched him and popped him out of his hip. So he's not strong enough to get him off him, but he's strong enough to just give him a little touch and then boom, he walks with a limp for the rest of his life. Is that logical for you to think that he wasn't strong enough to win?
Yeah, it seemed he wasn't strong enough. He had to break his.
Is it possible?
Tie.
Is it possible for someone who is strong enough to win to allow someone to hold him? Like for example, sometimes my daughter, she asked me to arm wrestle me, and I let her beat me every time. Does that mean I'm not strong enough to beat her?
But nothing mentioned in the Bible about what you said.
Can you answer my question? Because you said it's not logical. You said it's not logical, so that means this wouldn't logically follow. Does it logically follow that if I arm wrestle my daughter and she beats me because I let her, does that mean I'm not strong enough to beat her?
I told you, he wasn't strong enough. He had to break his tie.
What are you talking about? He touched him and he broke it. So you left out that information, by the way.
He broke his tie. He broke the tie of Isaiah.
It was Jacob, bro.
Jacob.
Yeah.
I forgot. Yeah, Jacob. Sorry.
Okay.
Did he break his tie or not?
I think he popped his hip out of his place, if I'm not mistaken. You want to read it? It's in Genesis chapter 32. I think it starts at verse 20, I want to say.
22? Chapter 22?
No, 32.
Okay.
Let me pull it up. Oh, boy. The famous, well, God lost the wrestling match. Bro. This is the moment where Israel becomes Israel.
In this text, it's mentioned that it's an angel. This is
No,
not,
it doesn't.
The original
text.
It
doesn't.
like Sumerian text.
Where does it say? Where does it say angel?
No, this is not. This is New International Version. I'm talking about King James Version. Once again.
Where does it say angel?
Jacob and the angel met him, and Jacob's.
You got to start in verse 24, bro.
20. Sorry. Okay.
Chapter 32, verse 24.
And Jacob was left alone. Yes. And Jacob was left alone, and there wrestled a man with him and until the breaking of the day. And when he saw that he prevailed not against him, he touched the hollow of his thigh, and the hollow of Jacob's thigh was out of joint, as he wrestled with him.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, "Let me go, for the day breaketh." And he said, "I will not let you go, except thou bless me." And he said into him, "What is your name? What is the name?" And he said, "Jacob." And he said, the name shall be called no more Jacob, but Israel, for as a prince has thou power with God and with men, and has prevailed. So he has prevailed. So he fought against God, and he overcame him.
Okay.
So
prevailed how? How did he prevail?
How you can make it your interpretation, your spiritual interpretation.
He got a blessing. He got a blessing, brother. He got a blessing from God, and he changed his name. And the blessing that this starts is the blessing of the house of Israel, bro. Like, I don't understand. Oh man, read verse 30, by the way.
And Jacob called the name of the place Peniel, for I have seen God face to face, and my life is preserved.
So if Jacob felt like he actually prevailed, why is he saying, "Oh my gosh, I actually survived this"?
Yeah, it's this one is logic, because in the Bible we find another verse that says nobody can see God and stay alive.
That's a different topic. I'm talking about Jacob actually saying that he is shocked that his life is still here, that he's still alive.
What exactly your question? No.
My question is, If Jacob actually won because he overpowered God, why would Jacob then be surprised that he's still living?
Because he knew afterwards that it was God.
What?
After later he knew that it was God. He didn't know after the beginning.
Right. Okay. So did he did he actually believe that he can overpower God, or was he shocked that he was even able to survive?
Yeah, he's shocked. Like me now. I am really shocked.
Okay, bro. So then at the end of the day, why does this mean that he was able to overpower God? Or did God just let him?
Why he let him?
To get the blessing.
No, how? Why would I fight against a man?
You gotta understand. You gotta understand the story of Jacob. You gotta understand the story of Jacob, bro. This is the moment that Jacob changes. So Jacob, Yaakov, in Hebrew means heel grabber. Back in these times, a heel grabber is somebody who's a swindler or schemer, right? Now he was a twin, right? Esau is his twin brother. Before he was born,
the blessing from his brother, actually.
Huh?
He's the one who stole the blessing from his brother.
Exactly, but just let me get there.
Before,
Hold on, bro. Before he was born, he was promised to have the blessing of God before he was even born. But the reason why he was called heel grabber is because when they were both born, Esau and Jacob was grabbing the heel of Esau coming out of the womb. And what that symbolizes is that not only is he going to be a schemer, but he is trying to be the first one out of the womb. He's trying to take what already belongs to him, which is the ironic thing. So he's trying to take a blessing by coming out first, even though he already has the blessing, even though he's coming out second. That's the irony of it. Then it gets more ironic because his mom and him plan a plot to deceive Isaac, who was blind at the time and old, to try to act like he is Esau and receive and deceive his father in order to get the blessings, the firstborn blessings from his father. The ironic thing is God is already going to give him the blessing, but he's still lying and conniving and making scams to take it. He also tricked his brother Esau to give up his firstborn rights. So then he deceived his father, he deceived his brother just to get the firstborn rights that he already has. That's the irony behind it. And he's scheming people all the time. Finally, he meets his match. He meets a man and he wrestles with him. And he's doing the same thing he always does. He just wants to take blessings from people. And then he wrestles with God. And then finally, God just goes ahead and gives him the blessing because the blessing was already going to be given to him. And then pops him out of his hip. So he gets humbled. And not only does he get humbled, he changes his name to Israel. After this story, Jacob changes. He's no longer the scheming, conniving guy anymore. He is now a guy that is actually going to be an example.
Have you ever heard about the word parabolic?
Parabolic?
Parabolic.
Yeah. I think like somebody who can't walk, you mean?
No. Parable is like the...
Oh, parable?
The parable,
yeah.
Parable, political parable, maybe. I don't know how to translate in English. I don't
political?
Are
you saying political?
Yeah.
Okay. So what about it? What about a parable that's political?
It's kind of trying to give the right to Israelites and creating stories to do that.
What?
Later creating stories in order that...
Oh, you're saying it's a creative story. You're saying it's a creative story. Okay, bro. I mean, look, that goes into a completely different topic. That whether the story is created or not. The point of this story, regardless of whether you think it's created or not, you said it's illogical. It's not illogical. The point of the story is this: Jacob has been given the blessing before he was born. His whole life, he was trying to steal the blessing that he already owned. He needed to actually wrestle with God and get his hip popped out in order for him to finally believe that he has the blessing. He had to go through all of that. He had to go through a struggle. He had to go through a life where he's being deceiving. He was isolated from his brother. His brother wanted to unalive him. All kinds of crazy things happened to him because of his ways. And it took an encounter with God to wrestle with him, and then God giving him the blessing this way for him to finally understand in his brain that he already has the blessing. And it's a testament to all of humanity, because we all struggle with sin and all these things, all just to be in order to just come to the conclusion that we are made in his image. So it's all like, there's nothing illogical about this. It's a story. It gives you a lesson. Now, whether you believe the story actually happened or not, that's a completely different.
All right, it's okay. Not other people.
Okay, brother. Have a good day, man. God bless. Oh, boy. That's what happens when you take one piece of the story and don't look at the context of everything. Like, Genesis is just one big story. What's up?
Hello. So what's to say that wrestling with God? You just said that wrestling with God is logical?
Yeah.
How is that logical? A man wrestling with God.
Because God takes on a human form.
Whether he takes on a human form or not, isn't that God? Isn't he all-powerful, all-knowing? How is that all-knowing creator, that all-powerful creator, fighting a man in a wrestling match?
Because he takes on a human form?
Again, I said, how is that logical?
Why is it illogical?
Because God becoming a man and wrestling a man is not logical at all. Can you prove that that's logical?
I mean, I don't see it. What's the contradiction?
The contradiction is that he's wrestling a man.
Okay, how is that a contradiction?
So are you telling me that you can beat Jesus in a wrestling match?
That I can beat Jesus in a wrestling match? I never thought about that, but probably not.
How could you not? Because he can become a man, so it's logical, is it not?
Sure, I guess.
So it's not logical for you to beat Jesus in a wrestling match, huh?
Okay, you're still not showing me what's illogical about it.
And I'm asking you a question. So it's logical for you to beat Jesus in a wrestling match?
I don't know, bro. I mean, look, for example, like if we take,
you just admitted to
like for example, like if we go to, if is it possible for me to beat a human being in a wrestling match? If we're gonna go broad there, then yeah, it's possible. But if we're gonna get specific, like if you ask me, is it possible for me to beat Islam Makhachev, right? UFC champion, great jiu-jitsu fighter, to beat him in a wrestling match, I would say that's not possible. He would destroy me.
That's a stupid analogy, because
it's not a stupid analogy, because you're asking me specifically. You're asking me specifically, is it possible, right? It depends on what you're talking about, bro. And
the man I'm referring to is, in your belief, fully God and fully man, right?
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So if you're wrestling a man who's fully God and fully man at the same time, how would that be logical for you to wrestle?
Because he takes on a human nature. So if you're comparing this to the Jacob story, I'm assuming. So I don't know what you heard on the explanation of it, but he let him prevail and hold on to him and wrestle with him. Yeah, what is that an issue?
So do you believe he's all powerful?
Yes. That doesn't mean he can't allow something to happen.
God was beaten in a wrestling match.
Brother, I have a daughter. She arm wrestles me and she beats me every time because I let her.
No, I'm asking you. So
listen. You're trying to point out that it's illogical. So that means in this scenario, it'll be illogical too. Is it illogical that my daughter, who I'm 100 times stronger than, and I arm wrestle her and I let her beat me? Is that illogical?
Are you fully God, fully man?
Is it illogical, bro? Yes or no?
It's not illogical because you're not fully God.
Thank you very much. So if God, who is more powerful than me, decides, God, who is more powerful than me, decides to let me wrestle with him and hold on to him till the break of dawn, or whatever it is that you want to point out in the story of Jacob, if he lets me do it, what's illogical about it?
The difference is that he's fully God and fully man. You ain't.
So what? So what if he lets me do? Why can't God let me do it? That's what you need to explain.
So God can be beat, right?
Why can't he let me do it, bro? Explain that.
Okay. If he lets you, okay, let's take
all you're saying is this is all you're saying, bro. Your argument is just out of emotion. It's like, well, he's God. He's God. He's God. Okay. If he lets me do it, explain why that's not possible. And when you unmute, explain that. Why it's not possible. Go ahead.
I never said it's not possible.
Thank you. So it's not illogical. Thank you for conceding. Goodbye. Thanks for conceding. You just conceded your whole argument. You said it's illogical, meaning it can't be possible. Now you're saying it is possible. Bro, what an idiot, man. Anyways, what's up?
Hello?
What's up?
Why would I be Christian?
Huh?
It says, why are you not Christian?
Yeah, what faith are you?
What would I be?
Huh?
What would I be?
I don't know. That's why I'm asking you.
Why? You tell me.
All right, bro. See you later, man. Get off the bottles, bro. I'm tripping. The hell is he talking about? The hell is he talking about, man? Ain't no way, man. Ain't no way, man. What was that boy talking about, man? I don't know, man. Let me see. How do I do this? This little YouTube thing. Customization. Okay, no. Okay, no. I don't want to do that. How do I do a poll? Or maybe I gotta go to the actual live. I know, right? He's toasted like crazy, bro. I'm in on that. I'm in on that good. Let me go to ver the image. The YouTube. All right, here we go. Yeah, don't sound like it that. All right, can I do a poll from here? Engage with the audience. Oh, yes. Let's go. Yes, and yes. Boom. Look at me figuring out TikTok. I mean, YouTube. Hello. Hello, Dreamer. You're on. You're live. Going once. Going twice. Go. Is it logical? This guy's still yapping in the comments. Is it logical? You beat God in a wrestling match? Okay, what if God lets me? It's not logical. It's not logical. Well, it's possible, but it's not logical. All right. Thanks for coming. If something's not logical, that means it's not possible. Like, it wouldn't be true. Yeah, why wouldn't God let me? Why would he not do that? According to your Quran, can you beat your wife? Is the wife letting you beat her? And by the way, the funny thing is that story that they don't like is confirmed in their Quran. You deny the story, you deny the Quran, my friend, my good friend. Hello, Abraham, you're live. Abraham, you're live. Going once, going twice, and gone. Thanks for coming, brother. John Irvine. The universe is physical, we agree, but you're saying it is created by a being outside of the universe. That doesn't make sense to me. That being would have to exist outside of space and time. Okay, why can't there be a being that exists outside of space and time? Especially when we know something like, um, especially when we know that something like the laws of logic would have to be grounded in something that exists outside of time space. Have to be. So it is possible. I think you're just assuming that because you're seeing everything in creation, then all of a sudden it can't exist outside of it. Well, I mean, I don't know what kind of proof you're asking, John, but the way we would demonstrate it is by things like the logic. Like how are they grounded unless it's grounded in an eternal mind? And if there's an eternal mind, then there's an eternal being outside of time, space, matter. That would be the explanation. Or if you're going to do the argument of motion, you know, it would have to the first motion would have to come from something outside of time, space, and matter to start everything. If you have another explanation to it, then I would then say, okay, man, maybe that decreases the chances. The less, that's how we would just go off of probability, and it's not illogical. There's no contradiction to it. There's no contradiction to an eternal being outside of time, space, and matter. So that checks the box. And then to top it off is the best explanation for certain things that we know always existed and how these abstract things are grounded like numbers. Mm-mm-mm. But yeah, let's see. Therefore, time always existed. God created the universe, but it's more logically sound to believe that He created the universe in time. So at one point, all existence started at zero, nothing. Then time moved on from there. You're starting from one, moving back, starting from zero, and moving forward. Nothing is nothing. Like nothing is not in existence. So what we're starting from is not a physical thing. We're starting from existence itself, which would be God, the eternal being. Then the existence, the eternal being, then starts physical matter and time, space, and matter. So it's not coming from nothing per se. It's still coming from God. It's still something. So that wouldn't follow, brother. So sorry. Hit the like button though if you guys enjoy the stream. Shout out to everybody on TikTok. You already know the regulars. Do me a favor also. Hit the follow button on Peace, who's on the panel. She'll be on live later today. So hit her a follow if you support. Patreon, guys. Patreon is going crazy. The Patreon content, I mean, I'm not talking about going crazy as far as like a lot of members. What I'm talking about is just like the content is going crazy. Thank you, Brady. Love you too, brother. Love you too. Thank you, High IQ Truth. Thank you very much. John, I haven't seen you in a little bit, but shout out to John. He's also a regular. But yeah, the Patreon, man, I don't know, man. Like this week's topic was so good. I mean, the problem of evil. Just a lot of good stuff. I even reread it like multiple times. Like I got something new out of it every time. And yeah, it's oh, there you go, Bryce. How you doing, Bryce? Answers for Christ. How are you, brother? Shout out to you on YouTube. Nemesis. Shout out to Nemesis. Christos Anesti to all the Orthodox Christians. Can matter or energy be created or destroyed? I don't know, John. I don't know the answer to that question. My gut feeling tells me to ask you to clarify what you mean by which matter. I think all matter, yeah, it can, but because matter exists in creation, and at some point creation didn't exist. But energies, that depends, right? Are you talking about the uncreated energies of God? No, that can't be destroyed. Oh, wow. I converted you? Did we have a conversation? You gotta tell me what, like, you gotta explain more than that. You can't say I converted you. I don't even know. That's crazy. Yeah, that's crazy, man. Oh, okay. You watched my videos. Okay. What was it about the videos that convinced you? Amen, brother. All glory to God. I'm glad. I'm glad the videos are helping. And hey, that's so everybody, that's so you know, like everybody who the math. Yeah, so everybody, you know, like, hey, these videos make a big impact. I mean, I'm not even big on YouTube yet, right? But we're making a lot of progress. And it's all thanks to you guys that have been um, donating and sending to the PayPal, the image, um, Patreon members. Like, guys, the more we subscribe to the Patreon, the more we can make some more of these videos and make a bigger impact. Because Brave is not the only one that needs to watch these videos, you know. But nonetheless, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you guys, because all of those donations that you gave allowed me to buy all the equipment that I need, the lights that I need, the microphones, the cameras, all of this stuff came because of you guys. So thank you guys. Discord server is very useful, articulate, only because it's a way for you to build a captured audience. I don't utilize it as much as I should, to be honest with you, but I'm going to start utilizing it more. But the moments that I do utilize it, it's very effective. You get to actually the people who follow you and actually believe in you. You get to actually get to know them personally, and you get to build a community of people that is a captured audience. Meaning, like anything you push towards them, they're going to go support. So the other thing is with my Discord, it's the one thing that I do use on a daily basis is like automatically. It's every time a YouTube video drops, every time I go live on TikTok or a TikTok video goes or YouTube live, it notifies everybody on Discord that I'm live. It sends a notification out. So it's a good way to keep your audience engaged and showing up when they, when you got something going on. So, but I'm not an expert at that though. So I'm just telling you from my experience and the potential. I should actually. Host, you think a creator made the universe? You think he created matter and time? I'm saying these always existed. Okay. Why do you believe they always existed? Especially if time and matter is within the universe and the universe is expanding. That means the universe has a beginning. So can matter exist outside of the universe? I don't think it can. I'm not a scientist now. I don't think it. And if the universe is expanding, that means it has a beginning. If it has a beginning, that means there has a point where it didn't exist. So how can matter have always existed if the universe didn't? The universe would be space, time. I don't know. That's tough. That's tough. These are all the questions that. Yo, is everything good with the audio or no? YouTube, you guys can hear it or no? Let me know, YouTube. It's cutting out slightly. Okay. All right. I don't know what's going on. I probably need to switch something. It's the right Wi-Fi. The one-time TikTok audio is good. Yeah. I'm good now. Okay. All right. Thank you guys. Yeah. I don't know what. Sometimes it lags a little bit. Man, we don't got nobody else. These numbers on the views, it's always like first hour and a half, hour, we're like 150 or 110 or something like that. It just dies down. But we got some good clips though. Good conversations for the Juto. I got a new video dropping on YouTube today. I'm gonna work on it as soon as I get off here. Whatever. When you eat it, does it disappear out of the universe? No, it releases that in terms of emotions, but it's still there. Yeah, I'm not disagreeing with that, John. That when you digest food and it gets destroyed, that it doesn't still exist. The thing is that it exists before the universe. That's my question. If it didn't, then no matter how you demonstrate this in the universe, at one point, it just didn't go. So, like, it didn't have any ontology to it. So, what's up?
Good morning. How are you guys?
Doing good.
Nice. So you have, I just hopped in, so I don't know if you guys were talking about something else, but you have Christianity is logical and why are you not Christian? So which one would you like to discuss?
It doesn't matter. You can pick.
How is Christianity logical?
I don't think there's anything.
So I'm a former believer of 27 years. I'm a former Christian, so just so you know.
You honestly don't remember. You don't remember that we had a talk like a week and a half ago.
So I'm sorry, I didn't realize.
Yeah, did you? We were talking about the historical evidence of Jesus. You didn't know anything about the empty tomb, so you were going to go look into it.
Oh, the empty tomb. Yes.
Okay. Did you look into it or no?
I can't believe you remember that conversation. The empty tomb. I looked into it a little bit. I didn't find anything regarding the empty. No, I didn't spend hours on it. I did spend a good 30 minutes. Couldn't find anything.
Okay, so
I did a whole breakdown of the Gospels during Easter season. I wanted to read through the Gospels and really see about the accounts from each of the books. So I did do a lot of resurrection studies, but I didn't go too far into deep diving into empty tomb.
And what did you find?
There's a lot of contradictions in the resurrection story.
Like what?
Who told the disciples Jesus rose is one of them. What time of day was it? How many angels were in the tomb? Where the angels were located when they showed up? If the tomb was rolled versus if it was still closed when they got there. What Jesus said when he passed away. What the two thieves in the cross were doing. It all contradicts based on the book you're reading. It's crazy.
Why does that matter?
Because John 1:1 says the Word was with God, the Word was God. The Bible is the perfect inerrant Word of God. Why would the most important story?
That That verse doesn't mean that the Bible is inerrant, like a perfect inerrant. That's not what that means.
Oh, so you think the Bible's bullshit too? Well, I think we agree.
No, that's not what I said either. We had this conversation. We had this. I know you don't. I know you don't remember the conversation, but we talked about this. Your paradigm of believing that the Bible can have no different, like what you're looking at is different eyewitness testimonies and giving different details, and because they don't necessarily go perfectly in line, you think that this means that it breaks our paradigm of this perfect book or whatever the case is. It's not the paradigm of Christians at all. Now I know there are some Christians that take that extreme look on things, but they're actually incorrect. They shouldn't be looking at the Bible that way. This is
But
still,
if you're not going to believe it's a solid foundation of truth, then why would you just
actually those testimonies, those details that you're laying out actually proves it to be more authentic.
No, because then I would just assume that they're making up the magic parts.
Not really.
What
not,
happened? I'm just gonna
not really. Not really. Here's why. Let me tell you why. You can say whatever you want. I think it's silly that we just had a conversation. You said you were going to look at the empty tomb and you barely did. So I think that's silly.
Okay, but wait, but I literally didn't.
I also think it's silly. I also think it's silly that you take John 1:1 to mean that the Bible is perfect. That's also silly. Nobody. What do you think the word is? What do you think the word? What do you think the word is? What do you think the word is? See, you're wrong. That's not what it means. So it's silly that you thought that.
You don't like the Bible. I don't either.
Yeah. Whatever. Yeah, you can gaslight me all you want. Listen, look. I understand. Hey, listen, clown. I understand that you had a bad experience with Christians. Okay. Maybe you dated a Christian that you pissed off because you were just talking too much and he backhanded you. And that made you feel like Christianity wasn't true because you were so hurt by it. So sorry that something happened to you like that. Yeah, because I can definitely see that even the man with the most patience would probably lose patience and backhand someone like you. Seriously, I could see that happening. I could definitely see it happening. So I understand that maybe something like that happened to you because you got on someone's nerves, and then that's what happened. And now Christianity is false because you were so hurt. Oh no. But at the end of the day, like you're not. What's silly is you're not even interpreting the Bible correct. You're not even willing to listen another side of it. You're just going to go ahead and gaslight and saying, "Well, your book is BS and this and that, whatever." Whatever, I could play that game too. Gaslight you too. Look at this. Look, you're advocating for men slapping me. No, I'm not advocating for men slapping you. But you know what? You are so disgustingly dishonest and annoying. I wouldn't put past someone wanting to. How about that? Like the whole liberal, like you want to go cancel me because I said that? Sure. Don't care. No, don't mute her. Leave her. Let her still cry. The whole atheist liberal crap. Like whatever. Cancel me because I said, yeah, you know what? A man shouldn't slap you, but if a man wanted to, I can see why he would want to. So clown. What's up?
Yo, you have no respect for women, man. Shame on you.
Nah, I just don't have respect for her.
Nah, but we can't talk about women like that.
I could to her. I could, especially since she just wants to mock a religion and wants she can go and disrespect other people's religion openly, but then the minute she gets something said to her, all of a sudden she's a victim. Hell no. No, I don't. I only disrespect the ones that disrespect me. So they disrespect me, I'll disrespect them right back. But no, I don't start off by insulting. No. But anyway, see you later. And I'm assuming you're a Muslim, right? If you go to her videos and see how she mocks Christianity. If she did that she wouldn't dare do that to Islam. And if you're a Muslim, you would want to slap her too. You would want to 434 her too if you saw her making fun of Muhammad that way. What's up?
I just want to say, Born Again Atheist, you did a great job. He lost the debate.
Yeah, I lost the debate of her crying. Yeah, exactly. See you later, man. Her whining about the Bible. I lost that. You're right. I did. I lost my cool. Yeah, the fanboy. Look, hey, fanboy. Quiet, fanboy. Quiet, fanboy. Look. Crazy, man. Anyways. When were the angels created? Like, yo, Keem, what is it with you? You want to you just want to debate other believers the whole time? What are you trying to do? She did a deep dive. I did a deep dive into finding all the contradictions of the Bible. She said she did it over Easter. She's been bringing that argument up for like a year. Don't know about it. I think it's okay to joke about physical violence. That's just my personal opinion. I thought it was funny. Other people thought it was funny. If you don't think it's funny, it's fine. She said the word in John 1:1 is the Bible. Right. Angels were created with the same day as like the host of heaven, and I think it was that day 3. Day 3 of creation. Yeah, she said she couldn't find anything on the empty tomb. Right. She did a super duper deep dive to find the truth, right? To look at this from a truthful perspective. She wanted to really know. She was seeking truth. Or, guys, do you think it's more logical for 30 minutes? Yeah. Or do you think it's more probable she was just looking for more things to be a troll about? Yeah, the word in that's right, John Scott. The word in John 1:1 is the Bible. That's what that means. So that's what that means. I know. I was supposed to take that interpretation as like that's like nobody. That was silly. That was silly. The fact that she's trying to do a critique on the Bible and doesn't understand the simple things like what John 1:1 means. But you feel like you have what it takes to criticize this. Yeah, I know. She's just an atheist troll. That's all it is. Yeah, she thought John 1:1 was about the Bible. And by the way, for those of you that don't know, for those of you that are listening, these different accounts of the testimony of the crucifixion, they don't actually hurt us, because if these, first of all, let's assume one of the possible accusations is that that these guys made this up, right? These 4 authors made up the story. If they were looking to make up the story, and some of these gospels existed already. For example, Mark would have been like the first one, Matthew shortly after, around the same time, but then you have Luke and John, right, that actually come after. So these other gospels already existed and they wrote it. If they were making this up, if they were purposely trying to convince everybody to add more depth to the story and convince everybody that this happened, they actually would have not gone against the details of the previous gospel that was written. They would actually gone in line with it so that people wouldn't be skeptical like she is and start to think this. They would actually go more in line. The fact that they all actually have different points of views and different details, and they didn't, even though they were aware of the other gospels, but they still wrote their account down. shows that this person, at the very least, the author, was being authentic in what their point of view was, or the point of view that they received. So if a homicide detective goes to a crime scene and he sees that there's potential witnesses, if he goes and interviews all these witnesses and they all say the same thing, that's not a if they all claim the same crime happened, that's not a red flag. But if they claim that the same crime happened and everything down to the details, like the time, what they were wearing, all of those things, if all of those details are exact, the homicide detective will be suspicious of the testimony, because that would now indicate to him that they actually came together before the authorities showed up and actually corroborated their testimony. So they got all their facts straight. That's why when the authorities show up to a scene like that, they separate the witnesses to assure that they're not trying to come together and recount their story and try to be in detail and in line. If they separated the witnesses and they interviewed them and the crime is still consistently the same, but the details are off, that would actually increase the credibility of their testimony, because it shows the officer that these people did not corroborate or come together to tell each other their account and try to match details. That tells them that they did not speak to each other, and they gave their account exactly how they described it. So they're at the very least being honest about it. They're being honest. So these details being off, none of the four gospels would deny that he died on the cross. None of the four gospels would deny that he rose again, right? The major details are going to be what's going to be consistent in order for it to be a true story. The major event, the core of the story, has to be consistent. But the details around how it went down, if they're inconsistent, actually shows more credibility to it. So it actually helps our case. It means that these authors were at the very least being genuine when they're giving their account. And then when you look at the contradictions, then you can actually see that you can explain how some of those things go online afterwards. Like, you can actually see that happening. You can actually have explanations. There's different points of views. One person says he said this on his last breath. The other person says he said this on his last breath. These people could have been experiencing what Jesus was saying as their last breath differently. Like, meaning they heard him say this, and that was the last thing they heard him say. And then the other person heard maybe he say something immediately after, but the other person didn't hear it. Therefore, they thought that was his last words and his last breath. Doesn't mean that it's not true. It just means that they're giving their point of view. And from a human point of view, we don't have all the details in mind, and we see things differently. Therefore, those details are going to be different. Period. Anyways, will anyone be Christian when they change the image of Christ? What are you talking about, bro? What are you talking about? Is this a Christian that's representing? Soundbite scholar? What's up?
Hello, mate. You're right. Yeah, I'm a Christian. I've just been I do a lot of work trying to reach Muslims, and I've heard you use the argument. I know this is a bit off topic, just around Allah being made up and dependent on his attributes. Is there a video on your YouTube that points to that? I've seen you mention it in shorts. But you need to help me understand that a little bit more.
Yeah, any one of my shorts is always it's from a video that I put on YouTube. So you can go to it. I believe there's two. Hold on. I think I released 2 videos on it.
You got the name.
Yeah, so if you go to, not my last video that I dropped yesterday, but the 2 videos before.
Okay.
That I dropped Monday and Tuesday. One says Trinity accepted. The other one says logical problem of Tawheed. Those 2 videos.
Okay, cool. And so, do you explain how this isn't a problem for Christianity? Because it actually
could be a problem for Christianity if you adopt and no offense to the Catholics, absolute divine simplicity. It actually could be a problem. This is where a lot of the Thomists and everything would argue. Are you a Protestant?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm Orthodox. So the most consistent, closest to the early apostles would be like Saint Basil and Saint Gregory of Nyssa, Saint Gregory the theologian. These guys are what we call the Cappadocian Church Fathers. They actually dogmatically established a model of the Trinity in the Second Ecumenical Council, and it's what we would call today, energy essence distinction. So the reason why we don't we don't have this problem with energy essence distinction is because the attributes of God is what we would call the energies, and the energies are actually distinct from the essence. The essence of God is not something that is knowable; it's beyond our finite thinking. But the energies is how we know God. So these energies are distinct within each other, are distinct from each other, but they're not separated from the essence. We're okay with having that, and actually, even Catholics would be okay with distinctions within God. Right? But having distinctions within the essence is where it becomes a problem, especially for a Muslim, because a Muslim would say that Allah's essence is simple, and there's no distinctions with it, and have any multiplicity within it.
Yeah.
So, in order to adopt that he has 99 attributes and still be one, absolutely divinely simple, that means that these attributes would have to be conceptual. They wouldn't actually be real. Or if you're going to move away from Tawheed and say they're distinct, right, and identical to, then that would break the laws of logic, because then that means his mercy and his name, one of his names is being all merciful, another one being the Avenger. That means his mercy and his vengeance are identical, given the law of identity. Because if his mercy equals his essence, and his attribute of being the Avenger equals his essence, and that means those two attributes equal each other. Which is not possible. Those two things contradict each other.
Wow, that's deep, man. And where do you learn this? Do you learn this in the Orthodox Church, or is there a certain a source that you go to learn more of this argument?
I've just been listening to arguments for a long time, bro. I'm not really good at philosophy. I had to work at it. It's not a strength of mine, which is why it's hilarious, because like all these Muslim philosophers are trying to, like, they're gunning for me now because of these 2 videos I dropped, and I'm not even, and I believe I'm holding my own, and I'm not even like deep into philosophy like that. But the thing is, when I started to learn about the Trinity philosophically, like with the energy essence distinction, I started to see why certain things are a problem. And when I started to look at how the Muslims look, like for example, it is not possible for a creator of the universe to be unipersonal. In order for God to be real, like the creator of everything, he would need to be multi-personal. That's why it's so beautiful that we have the Trinity, because there's really no other belief other than polytheism, which is multiple gods that believe that actually believe in one God that is multi-personal. And the reason why that has to be the case is, for example, things like love. Love is something that is eternal. It's an attribute to Allah. The thing is, love is a relational thing. So if Allah is all loving, then that means he is dependent on creation in order to actualize something within himself.
Yeah.
And that would actually necessitate that he is not the creator or outside of time. Because if there's any changes within him, then that means he himself is within time. And if he himself is within time, he cannot be the creator. See what I mean?
Yeah.
But see,
that's deep.
But the Trinitarian God doesn't fall for that, doesn't fall into that, because the Trinitarian God can actualize the concept of love without being in time, space, and matter, because our creator exists as 3 eternal persons.
Wow.
So
That's really helpful, man. Really helpful. I just wonder, as a Protestant, I'm looking into Orthodoxy and the other traditions. Yeah, I think it is interesting that energy essence distinction. I mean, how would you suggest a Protestant gets around that? Because we still have the same dealing.
Most Protestants, most Protestants don't really go into a model like of the Trinity like that. You guys would agree in a lot of things that both the Catholics and the Orthodox would agree on, like three distinct persons, one essence, monarchical style of Trinitarianism, right? But Protestants don't really have a model you guys adopt. You know, you have like a mixture of things, which will create a lot of problems. Like, you know, so bro, to me, I'm an Orthodox. I'm a former Protestant. The reason why I became Orthodox is because I wanted to understand what is the true teachings of the church. When before all of these divisions, what was the teachings of the church? And funny enough, the Second Ecumenical Council, which is Constantinople I, this is where they completed and finalized the Nicene Creed. And the Cappadocian Fathers are the ones that use their philosophy and their church fathers, their bishops, so they had apostolic succession that goes from the apostles, from Jesus. They actually had a model of energy essence distinction that they laid out in this council. That this council is dogmatic. This council happened before any division, even before the schism of the Oriental Orthodox, before any schism whatsoever. So this is when the Church of Christ, of Jesus Christ, was one, and it was dogmatically put into a council. And funny enough, when I look into EED, it's probably one of the most. It's absolutely bulletproof in my opinion. Even against atheists, even against dealing with the problem of evil, it actually has all the answers, in my opinion.
Yeah, I appreciate your time. And I don't know if you've ever been down to Speaker's Corner in the UK. I go there a fair bit, and there's different Christian guys there. And there's a guy called Young Bob. He's Orthodox.
Yep. Yeah, I've seen him before. Yeah.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Trying to chat with him because he uses it. I don't know if you saw it as a debate between him and Ahmadinejad, and he used a similar kind of argument. It's just trying to get my head around.
Yeah, dude. Are you familiar with Sig? Do you know who Sig is?
Yeah, no, Sig. Yeah.
I mean, he's really good at that stuff, with energy essence distinction. He's Orthodox as well. Yeah, I mean, look, like I said, I think it's bulletproof in my opinion. You know, I think some Orthodox try to take on too much of a Western philosophy sometimes, and they kind of fall into some traps. But when he doesn't, when people don't do that and they just stick to what the Cappadocian said, it's really bulletproof. So if you want to learn about it, bro, I would just a couple suggestions. If you read anything on the Trinity from the Cappadocian Fathers, which would be Saint Basil the Great, Saint Gregory of Nyssa, and Saint Gregory of Nazianzus. So those three are the Cappadocian Fathers. If you want something more condensed, you would read Saint Gregory of Palamas. Takes all of their philosophy on the Trinity plus Saint John of Damascus, and then condenses it into something. And if you want something even more condensed, you go to Saint Gennadios Scholarios, who is the disciple of Palamas. So yeah, so all of these guys will teach the same thing, and it's a lot of reading. It's a lot of diving in. It's not easy. It took a long time, but once you start to unravel some things, the light bulb starts to turn on. You start to see problems of other things as well. Yeah.
That's really helpful, man. I appreciate your time and keep up the good work. Yeah?
Thank you, brother. God bless, man. All right, guys. I think I'm gonna end it on a good note like that. Thank you guys for all the support on YouTube. See you later, John. Sorry I couldn't see you sooner. I don't know if you left already, but see you later. Good talking to you, brother. Anyways, thank you everybody on YouTube. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. Before you go, I am going to be working on a new video that I'm going to drop. So I'll take care of that today. So a new video. Let's see which one. And then and yeah, I'll be doing the Best Friend Live on TikTok tomorrow, more than likely. I don't know. I was under the weather last night. It feels like I'm getting better, but if I'm down again, I might maybe take a break over the weekend. I'm not sure. I don't go live on Sundays, so I'll be on tomorrow morning. But if not, I'll be on Monday. Okay. The best morning live on TikTok. Let me see. Should I take one more guess? No. Hopefully this guess doesn't ruin it. What's up?
Yo, what's up?
What's up? What's your favorite?
I would say the primary reason I disagree with Christianity because it posits objective morality.
Because of what?
Due to the fact that it posits objective morality.
Subjective morality?
Objective.
Oh, objective. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Why is that a problem?
Objective morality inherently doesn't really make any sense for a couple of reasons. The first reason is that objective morality, at least commandment theory, which is the case for Christianity, pushes forth the notion that we derive an ought from an is. So, for example, when it comes to prescribing a moral thing, or making some prescriptive statement, it'll say, "Oh, you can't do that. Or you ought not do this." That's what a moral statement is. You ought not do this, or you ought to do this. And then when asked why, because God says it is good, or God says it is bad. The reason this is fallacious is because it has an underlying premise of you ought to do something else, which is again just prescriptive in nature. And it's fallacious to derive that is, or to derive that ought from simply an is without another usage of an ought premise. So if you say, for example, well, God says this is good, and that's why you ought to do it. The reason you can't derive it out from is because it presupposes an unjustified and hidden premise.
Okay, but if you're going to do an internal critique, you would have to adopt the presupposition that God created all things, right?
Not necessarily, no. If you're critiquing a moral, or at least just one aspect of how the Bible posits objective morality, I don't think you would have to presuppose the framework in order to critique it. No, why would you?
Yeah, you do, because your critique is you don't believe Christianity is. I don't know. I don't remember if you said it was true or logical. It doesn't matter. But whatever your claim is, it's because we believe in objective morality, right?
Yeah, my claim is that part doesn't make sense. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you're going to do so now this becomes an internal critique, basically saying that objective morality within our view is incoherent.
But not just in your view, objective morality in general, trying to put forth objective morality doesn't make any sense. Moral claims being true act in a universal sense doesn't make any sense.
It does, but it does. And here's why. And here, I'm going to tell you why. Because in our worldview, we have a God that created us for a purpose. When that purpose is, whenever that thing that he created, in this case, we're just going to say humans. When he created humans and those humans move away from what they were actually purposed to do, and that it would be the definition of not being good. And that is a state as well, but it is it also derives from moral decisions as well, like doing things that are bad. We're not supposed to be doing those things. That's not what we were created for. So
you're saying amoral things or evil is just the privation of good, or the privation of God himself.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's not what I was trying to say. That's not what I was really trying to say there, but I don't disagree with that.
Okay, do you think that God is a necessary being?
Yes.
Okay, so you think he caused all contingent facts?
I don't know what you mean by contingent fact.
Contingent fact would just be something that's dependent on the necessary being.
Dependent on a necessary being?
Yeah.
Like what?
So, for example, your parents meeting, my parents meeting, me being born, all things that are cause or have a cause are considered contingent facts.
Okay, sure. I'm just gonna go with it. I don't know if I agree with it or not, but let's just go with it. So what about it?
And then you would agree God doesn't have a cause. He's the God is an unmoving mover. He doesn't have a cause. He's the first cause.
Yes.
He caused everything. In your worldview, at least.
Yes.
Okay. So seeing as that's the case, I don't see how you can make the argument that evil is the privation of God when it's contingent on that. Every single thing is contingent on that.
I don't see what you're saying.
Okay. So you agreed that God is a necessary being and that he caused everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Seeing as that's the case, evil can't be the privation of God if he caused it. It's literally contingent on his existence.
So Evil can't be the privation of good because he's the cause of all existence.
Yeah, and according to his nature is to be all good, correct?
Uh-huh.
Okay, so if evil was caused by him because it's contingent on him, I'm not saying he's evil, but I'm saying he causes evil, even though his nature is to be all good, correct? If he wasn't necessary.
Mm-hmm. But we're not, when we say privation of good, we're not saying that that thing is not good at all. What we're saying is that whatever they were created for, like in humans, like when humans make a decision that's evil, let's say, the privation of good would just be a misalignment with God's will and purpose. That's what that means.
Which is dependent on him.
What's dependent on him?
That event even taking place or being caused is dependent on his existence.
What, the immoral decision?
Yeah, all of that is dependent on him.
No, we have free will.
He's not necessary. If it's not contingent on him, he's not necessary.
He's necessary. He's necessary. He's necessary for our existence, but he's not. But he doesn't force us out of our freedom. It's not freedom, our choice.
Yeah, but the event still takes place because of him. I'm not saying that he forces us to do anything or that he doesn't give us free will. I'm saying that the event took place because of his existence. Every single event would be contingent upon a necessary being.
Not necessarily. So am I, for example, if my daughter exists because of me, she makes a decision in her life that hurts her. Is that my fault?
Yeah, but you're not an unmoving mover. You don't have
I'm just saying it still applies because I'm the result of her existence.
Creating something. So for example, in your nature as a contingent being yourself, you're not a necessary being. So this is disanalogous because you're taking away the distinction in terms of ontology between you and a necessary being. You're a contingent, not a necessary being.
Is my daughter contingent? Is my daughter contingent on me?
Your daughter was contingent on God. She's not contingent on you because you're contingent on a necessary being.
Brother, you're okay. So
back all the way to the start.
So let's go back. Let's go back to it. So you're saying that because God created all things, because the possibility of people making a choice that misaligns with Him, He's the cause.
He must be the cause if He's necessary. Yes.
No, that wouldn't follow because Him giving a freedom to a creature to either make the choice to align with Him or not doesn't mean that if He chooses to not align, that He is the cause of it.
Okay, so once again, assuming, let's say that this person does exist, assuming the intentions of the necessary designer is ridiculous, or the intelligent designer is ridiculous, you already agreed that God is a necessary being. Inherently, one fact or one application or function of a necessary being is that all fact is contingent on that. So
then you know what? Then if me agreeing that He's a necessary being, then I'm holding that everything that happens is based on Him, then I would actually deny that premise then.
Okay, so He's not a necessary being?
He's not in the way that you're describing it. No, He's necessary. He's necessary because He is existence, grounds all of our existence. But that doesn't mean that He causes everything that happens. No.
Okay, so God didn't cause everything.
He caused everything, but He didn't cause my decision.
No, He caused the base. Oh my God. So the reason it is the fact that, or the case that He causes your decisions, is because every single thing can be traced to Him. So, for example, if I say, "Oh, well, how did this come to be? How did this come to be? How did this come to be? How did you, me, the skies, the trees, whatever, all come to be? How do all of these things function?" In your worldview, they're all traced back to the first cause, the necessary being.
Mm-hmm.
So. Okay. I don't understand how we can say that. No, certain things don't happen as a byproduct of Him.
Because it's necessary. It's necessary for us. It's necessary for us creatures, for Him to love us, for us to have the freedom of choice. That is necessary.
So who allowed that? Let me know.
It's not about allowing it. It's about being. If everything is contingent on.
You can't control it.
Hold on, bro. If everything is contingent on His nature, and His nature is having the freedom, having free will, then that means it would have been necessary for the creatures that He creates in His image to have the freedom of choice.
Yeah, so again, are you saying He can't control that? Are you saying He couldn't take away free will if He wanted to?
If His intention, His will doesn't change. His purpose of creation is out of love, and the purpose of creation was to have a creature that He's creating to love freely. So it was necessary for us to have freedom of that choice, because we would be made in his image, which would be a reflection of his image, that we got freedom.
Okay, so once again, that means that as a byproduct of this prerogative, every single thing that takes place that can be called evil, that can be categorically referred to as bad, immoral, whatever, is contingent on his existence because of that.
Okay, bro. like I think you just ignored everything I just said and just repeated everything. So that's cool.
Repeat what you said.
Okay, go ahead, repeat it.
You essentially just said that because God has the imperative of wanting to love and his creation is based or predicated upon this love, that he gives the creature free will.
Mm-hmm.
And so therefore, anything that takes place that's misaligned from what he intends for us to do, or our purpose of our intended purpose according to him that he prescribes to us, is not contingent on him, but rather it's contingent on the decision he makes that gives us this free will out of love.
The free will is what it's going to be the outpouring is, or like the reflection of his nature, right? So God doesn't have no make will. He doesn't decide things like, oh, I'm going to do it like this because if I do it another way, this means that the creatures are going to fall, and I don't want them to fall, so therefore I'm going to do it a different way. But that's not how God's will would work. His will doesn't change, and his love doesn't change. Creation is just a outpouring of his love, and it's going to reflect his nature. His nature, by necessity, if he's going to create a creature that he wants to have a relationship with, that wants to love him back, just like he grounds all love, would necessarily have to be a free creature, meaning that once he creates them, they have the choice to either be aligned with his will or not. If they don't have the possibility of rejecting them, it's no longer a reflection as to who he is with his freedom.
So once again, I'll just restate this. In a causal sense, all of those events are only dependent on the unmoving mover. Every single thing that you're referring to, even if it's a choice that's predicated upon his love for the being, or for being or humanity itself, all of that is still contingent, causally speaking, on a necessary being. Regardless of what it's based off of, all you're saying in different terms is that, oh, well, any amoral things that take place is simply because he wants to love us. It's still contingent on him, regardless of what emotion it stems from or what thing you want to say it derives from. It's still contingent on him, right?
I don't want to say right, because I know when I say that it is contingent on him, meaning that he grounds all existence, I'm not tying that with that he is the cause of our decisions. I don't agree with that.
Okay, so when he makes the decision to give us free will, for example, right? Let's assume that this is the underlying cause as to why we do amoral things, right? If we assume that this is the cause as to amoral decisions or evil taking place, it's still contingent on the being's decision, no?
No, because the being that made the choice is the one that is responsible for it.
Okay. Oh my God. So when we're granted, humans are imperfect inherently, right? In your worldview?
Not when we were first created, no.
So humans are currently speaking, because of amorality, if you think that humans at first were perfect, then they couldn't commit amoral things, right? Or do amoral things.
No, humans weren't created with original sin. No. Right now we do have original sin.
Are we able to sin right now? Are we imperfect?
Yes, there's a fall. We believe in a fall, bro.
Okay, we're imperfect as it currently stands, right?
Yeah,
so
but he didn't create us that way.
So who created us now then?
We are procreated, and we're procreated in the fall, which is based on the human decision that was Adam and Eve.
Okay, so again,
they're the reason. They're the reason why we're in original sin.
What was it? It's something about her eating a fruit, right?
Yeah, bro. If we're gonna change don't change the topic. Stay right here, please.
Yeah, no. That's what I'm saying. And again, it just the premise is that everything is caused by the enemy. Who caused that?
Caused what? Them eating the fruit?
Yes. Who caused that?
Satan. Satan influenced it, and then Eve made the decision.
Necessary.
Yeah, see, dude, you're just trying to pin everything back to it, bro. At the end of the day, like I reject it just because God's all knowing and He caused everything to exist. He is the cause of these creatures with free will to make a decision. You would need to substantiate. You would need to substantiate You would need to substantiate that just because he knows something in the future, that means causality. That's not what it means.
So number one, I never even. That's an amazing straw man. I never said because he's omniscient. I said it's because of his nature.
That's
his
usually
nature
that's
to be
usually
necessary
that's
being.
usually that's usually where it
Usually
goes.
good. Thank you for saying that's usually what the argument is trying to be.
Yeah, well, your argument. See, the thing is, where your argument falls is that you think that if it's contingent, necessary being, meaning that he is the cause of everything, including our choices, then that means the free will that we believe in is not actually real. So I would deny that. I would say no. The freedom of choice still exists, even if he caused everything to exist.
So once again,
if it's actually free will, then that means the decision of the humans weren't caused by him. It was caused by the humans that made the decision because they had the freedom to make the cause.
What is free will defined as? To be uninfluenced by the past or prior state of the universe.
No, I would actually reject that. I would say that it's just the freedom of choice.
That's such an ambiguous and broad thing to say.
Yeah, so I would reject determinism, bro. That's where you want to go.
So academia defines free will.
I don't care. Academia is not an authority over our worldview.
Definition of freedom, son?
It's freedom of choice. Our worldview. You're doing an internal critique.
That's begging the question. Oh,
no, it's not. No, it's not begging the question. No, it's not begging the question. Listen, bro. Listen, bro. Listen. You're doing an internal critique. I'm giving you what we see it as. Yeah. Shut up. Go sit down like a good little puppy. We're doing an internal critique. In our worldview, it's determinism is not how we're going to define what free will is. It's not going to be contingent on that. It's going to be based on freedom of choice. You're doing an internal critique, bro. Like, I don't care what academia has to say or anything like that. You're going in our worldview and then defining it from there. We don't take the same definition of free will on academia, bro. I'm like, get the hell out of here. Anyways, all right, I'm gonna end it on that note, guys. Hit piece of follow. She's gonna be going live a little bit later. Also, don't forget the Patreon, new content drop of Evil. Also, don't forget the YouTube. We're gonna be dropping a new video. Don't forget to like. Don't forget to subscribe on the YouTube. Don't forget to follow here as well. God bless you guys. Love you guys. Gotta get to work. God bless you guys in the name of the Father, the Son, Holy Spirit. Amen.